Starting the countdown. What's up, YouTube? It's T Money. Welcome to the live stream. We've got Elijah here. We haven't seen him in forever, and we've never actually physically seen him on the channel.
How's it going?
So today we're going to be doing, as you can clearly see, we're rocking Iowa State. He's rocking Iowa. Oh, he's rocking Iowa. I got to remember which direction to point because this camera, I need to figure out how to flip it because F this. We're going to be talking the Iowa and Iowa State schedules. We're obviously going to probably leave out Iowa and Iowa State because, well,
I did.
We have
when I was writing it, I just skipped week 2 because we're obviously going to cover Iowa State.
We're going to obviously cover both teams, especially when it comes to our predictions, which we're redoing that again. That's going to be fun. It's probably going to be the same format that I did with, well, no, I should be able to do it this way along with the predictions aspects because I know that I can do something like, well, no, not that. I know I could do this and then I could share my screen, but I have to remember how to do that. I will tinker with it. But
we got 2 months.
So we're gonna get into it. Elijah has a lot more written down than I do. So,
I spent about 2 weeks on this. So
yeah, and I had no time to do anything because usually when I wake up, I am lazy as crap. Going to work, coming back home, going to bed.
That's life for you, though.
Yep. So we're gonna get some people in the screen here really quick. I'll share that. I also have my guess the jersey thing I got to do later.
You should look at your green screen right now. You just completely disappeared for 5 seconds.
Oh, what the heck? What if I lowered me a little bit? There we go. Okay, yeah, let me get this. Did I not save? Oh, I must not have. I hit share. I didn't hit copy link. I'm an idiot. All right, so we'll get some people in here. I know some people are going to join. But what's been new with you?
Well, I have a radio job in 2 months to do high school football. And then during the winter, I'm going to be super busy. I'm going to be doing basketball for my school, for the radio station, and then I'm going to Waterloo to do hockey. So
there you go. At least you're going to be getting pay for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's up, Jake? How's it going?
How's it going?
Really quick. See if there's anybody else that decides to join. I know Jake usually works overnights, as far as I know, so he may stick around for that because he actually cheers for both Iowa and Iowa State.
So wait, hold on. So Jake, you work overnight. My mom used to work overnight at a nursing job. Shouldn't you be sleeping right about now? It is 2:00 or almost 2:00. Shouldn't you be sleeping right about now?
Not bad. Curious to see how the Hawks and Cyclone. How both the Cyclones and Hawks do. Yeah, hopefully better than last year.
Amen to that. Jesus Christ, that was bad.
Okay, let's be honest. Let's actually touch last year really quick. Yes, Iowa does have the bowl game that we can shine against Iowa State, but let's be 100% honest. Y'all had to scratch and claw to get there.
Well, not necessarily. We did have some not very good games. Let me pull up their schedule from last year. Not this coming up schedule. It's like 21. Jesus. Okay. They had some not very good games. I mean, yeah, we can start from last year and then go work our way forward to this year, 2022. Good old
Would you mind
ESPN.
if Jake jumped in with us? That way he can give some opinion on it too.
I could care less. Like,
let me get him really quick. Give me a second, Jake. I'm sending you the link. Oh, hey, by the way, he's also like a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan, so like you'll really like him.
So you're a Gophers fan?
No, he is not.
Okay, well, I'll take that back then.
He's just a Wild and Vikings fan.
Well, this stream isn't NFL, so I can't really talk about the Vikings, though.
Well, we can talk about like some not Gophers. Okay.
Good.
We can applaud that. So he apologizes for his random bird he gave.
Here, I'll do this.
No. What you do is.
Oh. I got to tell my drink real quick.
What's up, Jake?
Down the wrong pipe there, Elijah, or what?
A little bit. Yeah.
No, you missed
it. I see about ready to like choke over there. I'm like, son of a.
Yeah.
No, so what he did is he took his flip off back. But like, here, let's do it more comically.
Yeah, and like, all right. So real quick though, I spent 2 weeks on this preview after he told me that we're gonna do this. I wrote 3 pages in total. I want you to guess how many words I wrote.
You there, Jake?
Yeah, can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
all right.
You kind of froze for a second.
Okay, so anyway, I spent 3 weeks on this preview, about off and on. I wrote 3 pages. I want both of you to guess how many words I wrote in total. I got schedule, I got transfers, and I got news. That means like recruiting or whatever.
It's going to be well over 3,000.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking like 3,500. I'll just go with like about 3,500.
Oh, he's paused and muted himself, so give him just a second.
Yeah, do I want to rock him? Well,
you don't have really anything Iowa and Iowa State, do you?
Actually, I do have Iowa State. I do have a couple Iowa State jerseys. I have a few hats. I used to have an Iowa jersey, but I have no idea where the hell that ever went to. Like, I had it when I first moved back home, and then poof, it just kind of disappeared. So
that was my
State jersey here, but hold on, I can quick throw on an Iowa State hat.
It's fine. If you have an Iowa shirt, that'd be kind of cool too. Like you could be like the neutral guy.
Well, actually, kind of ironically enough, what I did was my dad has like some Iowa hats and stuff like that because, well, again, I have a stepsister that went to Iowa and stuff like that. I used to have I had a Hawkeyes basketball jersey, but unfortunately, as a bigger guy, that thing really didn't fit the greatest. So,
can I ask what player? What year?
It was number 44. It was an older school one, so I honestly have no idea. Because I went to the University of South Dakota. So
the Jackrabbits.
Nope.
No, Coyotes.
Coyotes, yeah. The Yotes. But
anyway, so as I was saying, I wrote just over 1,500 words.
1,500?
Wow. We were way off.
Well, because you told me you didn't want to spend 3 hours on it, so I had to like trim it down and try to summarize it.
Yeah.
Originally, I had over 4,000 words. But...
All right.
Okay, so let's get into this.
So we're gonna go over. We're not gonna go we're gonna go a little bit in depth, but not too in depth on game by game because, well, like I said, I got nothing in front of me. He's got something. Jake's gonna give opinions on what he says, and just some opinions on what I say, because like my stuff's not gonna be like
because I do have
Planned
opinions on both sides. Probably a little more Hawkeyes than the Cyclones, just because I remember a lot more of the Hawkeye season from last year than the Cyclone season from last year. But
Yeah, because last year's.
Well, that's
season
because
was
the Big
very-
12 doesn't have like a big TV deal, so you probably couldn't watch.
well, I
it.
mean, around here, because newsflash, I wasn't born in Iowa. I was technically born in Illinois, but I've lived in Iowa since the age of like 3, only living in South Dakota for a little bit while I was in college and stuff like that. But so I'm pretty much a native Iowan. So, and I always grew up rooting, ironically enough, for both the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones. I was probably a little more Hawkeyes when I was younger, just because that was like kind of during like the really big heyday of like the Dallas Clark era, Micah Hyde, like Ricky Stanzi and those guys. And then, ironically enough, it was like one of my best friends from college that got me like really onto the Cyclones, because he's from, ironically enough, Trevor's area. He went to even the same high school as Trev, like just a few years older, and he's actually my age. So, my friend is so. Yeah, I mean, I always rooted for both. I always kind of followed both, but it was just kind of where I was at. It was more Hawkeyes. So it was a lot easier to follow them and find them and all that stuff. So just kind of a little backstory for all of those guys who may be watching who have no idea what my like college football allegiances are. But yeah, I'm a Cyclones, Hawkeyes, and go Yotes because that's where I went to college. So those are basically my 3 big ones.
Okay, so before we get into this, can I get your opinion on the USC UCLA Big Ten merger type thing?
I mean, USC UCLA, that's going to be interesting to see, especially for when we have to travel out to Pasadena or wherever the heck.
I'm gonna hate my life sitting until 12:30 to watch Iowa get smoked by USC.
Yeah, well, shit, I remember watching the last year's game, like. What was it, like the freaking double rain overtime game against?
Oh yeah, Utah.
Utah.
I think it wasn't Utah.
Well,
who was that? Nevada. That's who it was.
Yeah, Iowa, Nevada. Was it? I thought it was an in-conference. Anyway, regardless.
Yeah, I stayed up till. Ironically, I was out for dinner with my family at 6.
Yeah.
And we watched the first touchdown in the first quarter. And by time that game got over.
Wait, that was right. That was actually one of the few games Iowa scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Dude, we beat South Dakota State by like
7-3.
7-3.
2 safeties and a field goal.
Yeah, not a single touchdown was scored that game. We won 7-3. 2 safeties and a field goal.
I'm gonna dive into the offense with transfers and everything.
Yeah, all I can say is the whole McNamara can come in and actually give us some offensive firepower, because the defense has never really been an issue with Iowa. It's always been the offense.
Phil Parker has, whenever Kirk retires, I think it's going to be LeVar Woods, who's a special teams coach. Mm-hmm. And then behind him is going to be Phil Parker for like nominees or whatever. I think they're going to stay inside the program, but
and again, for me, I don't quite know how I feel about that, just because, don't get me wrong, I love Ferentz and stuff like that. I mean, he's done a lot of good things for Iowa, but it's kind of at that point where it's almost like, how long is too long? Because it seems like, I mean, he isn't like the longest tenured.
Oh yeah. By like 50 games.
Yeah, heck, I'm pretty sure he's been coached since I've been alive. It feels like. I was born in 90.
He was the assistant coach to Hayden Fry, and Hayden Fry's like 4th year. So he's been with the team for.
And also, fun fact too, one of his sons, I think, is actually going to be a linebackers coach for the University of South Dakota. Just found out.
Good old Steve Ferentz.
Yep. So, but anyway.
All right, let's get into this.
I will say one last thing before we find out. I will say this. This will be a little bit of a middle finger might fly at me when I say this. As soon as I saw that Iowa didn't score a single touchdown against South Dakota State, which let's not be haste when I say this. South Dakota State's a very good college football team in the FCS level.
They won the FCS championship.
Yep,
They did. Did they?
Mm-hmm.
they did.
Oh, okay. So, with that being said, it's kind of hard to. I kind of had a feeling that Iowa was barely going to put up points against Iowa State that following week, but we're not talking about that. We're going to talk this year because we have two different FCS opponents to start out for Iowa and Iowa State. One of them being fairly noticeable.
Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm checking to see if.
Oh no! Wait, no, never mind. Iowa starts against Utah State, which is
Iowa does not play an FCS opponent this year.
Interesting.
Which is they play Mountain West.
Well, I
Utah
suppose
State.
too, with like the Big Ten expanding to UCLA and USC next year. I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
It's Big Ten championship or bust for Iowa.
Pretty much.
I
Well,
would 100% agree with that.
Big Ten West is going to be interesting to see because there are a few teams that I could see potentially making things.
But with Iowa's schedule and everything that we're going to dive into, I don't. Purdue, maybe, but that'd be it.
Well, Illinois always gives us fits. Minnesota and Wisconsin, you can never root those guys out. Nebraska.
Last year's Illinois game was not the best.
No, but to be fair though, Illinois was ranked though too. I think they're ranked as high as like 13 or 14 for a while. So it's not like they were a bad team. It's like Illinois is one of those teams like Minnesota where they'll just randomly come out of nowhere and have like a top 15 year and just absolutely blow everyone out of the water. And then they'll just kind of go for a few years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can never count anyone out of the Big Ten West. It's so much an open book. And plus, remember, too, real quick, Iowa State, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the 4 teams coming into the Big 12.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see. So Iowa State will start off with Cincinnati and BYU this year, and then they'll play UCF and Houston the following year. But we'll get into that.
Iowa State's going to get their shit rocked by UCF. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right,
but anyway,
let's go.
Let's go ahead and finally dive into this. Let's
Since
start off with,
since Iowa State had the worst record last year, you can go first. We'll go week by week.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
But I'll just bark back with him.
We're leaving it there. You guys are 4-8.
Cyhawk Trophy. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, so we're gonna start off with the Iowa State schedule, and we're gonna open up with a game against the University of Northern Iowa Panthers. We cover Northern Iowa once in a while, but to be 100% honest, Iowa State they should be ready for UNI this year. 100%. They weren't ready a couple years ago when we played them. They almost caught us, but this year I have a feeling it's going to be a different story. I think Iowa State should be able to take care of that easily. We don't even have players to announce for UNI to even reference. So if Iowa State can keep their non-conference undefeated streak going, it's going to be a solid start against Northern Iowa for me. And then over to Iowa.
I'm going to say something. In their last matchup, which was the 2021 season, Iowa State defeated UNI 16-10.
16-10.
So,
like I said, I don't know, but for some weird reason, Iowa State always has a slow start out of the gate. I don't know why. It was a thing even when Paul Rhodes was our coach. We've always had a slow start out of the gate. Like that North Dakota State game back in 2014, we should have easily beaten them. We lost by 3 scores.
We don't talk about that. Good team.
And then, we don't talk about North Dakota State because, what happened 2 years ago.
All right. So Iowa opens their 2023 season hosting Utah State. Last season they started 1-4, but won 5 out of their last 6 to go 6-6. Or 6 out of 5 out of their last 7 games to go 6-6, qualifying for the First Responders Bowl, in which they lost to the Tigers of Memphis 38-10. The Aggies had a 3 QB system, all of which who had significant action, most notably Connor Legis, who went 135 for 221 with just a yard below 1,500 yards and a 125.4 QBR. Calvin Tyler Jr. Rushed the ball most for the Aggies. Oh, no, that works too. First of all, most for the Aggies. He was drafted by Cincinnati in this past NFL draft, so that's a hole they will have to fill. Overall, I do see this as a good test for McNamara and co to get used to the Brian Ferentz regime, and to get on a decent roll with each other before traveling to Ames.
Which we will not cover that game in this video, but Jake, what do you think? What do you think about Iowa and Iowa State's opening opponents?
Well, again, I mean, you can never really rule out Northern Iowa just because, well, again, last year I was thinking we'd beat South Dakota State by a little bit more, but then, offense didn't score at all, but somehow managed to pull the victory out of the butt there.
We actually lost that game.
Northern
Iowa lost that game to South Dakota State.
Yep.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I mean, well, like I say, being a Missouri Valley football person and stuff like that. One sec here. Sorry, there's some weird pounding going on my windows.
Okay. So I don't know what the heck that's going on, but yeah, I think like I said, looking at both of these games, I have Iowa's up right now. I can swap back and forth between both. Iowa and Iowa. Wrong opponent. Hold on, I was prepared for the next opponent, but looking at both of these, Iowa and Iowa State should easily win both of these games. I'm pretty sure, Elijah, you can even agree with me on that.
I do think Iowa's going to win their game pretty easily, but noting the history between Iowa and UNI, those games are always super close. Maybe not the score is, but like especially early on, it's pretty close. So
I wish I could look at the history of the two teams.
I think Iowa State will pull it out by 2 scores, whether that be 14 or 10 points, but 2 scores.
Which I'm hoping for as well. So, and then the next game for Iowa, well, I'll have you start off. The next game for Iowa is actually their second home game of the year, and that is versus a team out of the actually, I don't know what conference they're out of. The Mid-American Conference. That is Western Michigan.
Okay, so the Broncos will start the season at home against St. Francis before traveling to Syracuse in week 2 and then Iowa in week 3. They ended last season with a 5-7 record. Notable games, they went to Michigan State and then they hosted Pitt Panthers in the early weeks of last season. Both ended in losses. Jack Salopek led the Broncos in passing. He went 104 for 212 with 1,285 yards passing and a 100.5 QBR, 7 touchdowns and 11 picks. Sean Taylor led them in rushing, 209 carries for just above 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. The backup QB, which I forget his name, but he was 3rd in rushing. So if that tells you anything, it tells you that they had a 2 QB system. I don't know if they still will. But overall, I see Iowa 3-0 after this game.
Then again, we don't know that. We can't really. We're not.
I see them at 3-0.
You can see it, but
doesn't mean that they're going to be 3-0.
Yeah. So looking at Iowa State's 3rd game of the year, it's against Ohio. Last time they played Ohio was literally just the season prior. That was an absolute domination of a game.
What do you expect? They're a MAC team.
but then again, you also look at the move that Jairil Brock did that actually made the top 10 that week or that night. Oh my God, that was disgusting. Should be the same exact result. And just like Elijah, I want to see Iowa State at 3-0, but then again, only one of us is going to be right. We don't know which one. Jake, what do you think of Western Michigan and Iowa at Ohio State? Or Ohio?
Wait, hold on. Ohio is going to Ames, right?
No, Ohio is in Ohio.
That's weird.
The game against Ohio is in Ohio.
That's weird.
Well, anyway, sorry about that. Apparently, my nephew locked out someone that they were watching, or it was like a cousin that was watching it. Sorry about that. So,
No, you're good.
But anyway, so Iowa's week 2 opponent's Western Michigan. You said
Week 3 opponent.
So week 3. We're skipping
because we're skipping.
Oh yeah, that's right. Seahawks week 2 this year. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I really don't follow the MAC conference that much, or really don't know much about Ohio and stuff like that, but should be an interesting thing.
I will say this. I'll throw this out here really quick. Ohio lost all 3 of their non-conference games, but only lost 1 conference game. So I think they were the conference champions.
Are you going to fact check that?
I'm looking at the standings, and it says Ohio Mid-American East standings. They finished their season 10-4. And they beat Miami, Ohio. So yes, I believe so.
All right,
I believe they are the MAC champions.
Give me 1 second.
I mean, like I say, I really don't watch a lot of MAC football, I guess, which is interesting considering I know, oh God, up until I don't know if they did this last year or not, but like during their like conference season, they always played games on like Tuesday.
Yeah, they did that last year too. They've always done that. Toledo beat Ohio 17-7 in the championship game.
So they just won the MAC East then.
Correct.
Still though, only losing once in division. But
I looked it up on Wikipedia. That's probably why.
You said they beat Toledo 17-7.
Toledo beat them 17-7.
Then why the heck is there 3 other games? Do you see this? There's 3 other games. Does the MAC?
Look at the date though. Look at the date. It goes from newest to oldest game. So look at the date. Second game is Toledo.
Oh.
Then they got a bowl game. 30th. That's after the Toledo game.
That is weird that they go from newest to oldest and not oldest to newest.
No. It's because this is the last 5 games. So their most recent game is.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense then.
Okay, okay, yep. I was looking at that wrong. Okay, yep. All right. So
okay.
My bad.
All right. So Iowa's first conference opponent is the Penn State Nittany Lions.
That's gonna be.
Iowa jumps into conference play with arguably their toughest opponent of the season. Arguably, because you don't know what's going to happen with the first few weeks of the season. They traveled out to Happy Valley to face the Nittany Lions in their annual whiteout game.
If I remember.
Yeah, it's going to be, yeah. The Hawks have taken 3 out of 4 from the Nittany Lions, though senior Sean Clifford was a starter for the past 3 seasons, and as you probably know, he was injured in the most recent game. Which led to Iowa rushing the field. One of their biggest question marks will be transfer sophomore Drew Allar, who saw game action last year as a backup, but hasn't had a convincing stat line in any of those games. Last season, he had 344 yards and 4 touchdowns in 5 games. If Iowa wins this game, it will be on a gutsy performance from the defense and a decent performance from the offense because, Penn State's defense is pretty good. But as it stands right now, if nothing else changes, Penn State takes this game.
I will give an opinion on this game really quick. This is not going to be this is not a walk in the park. 100%
No shit.
not a walk in the park. You gotta go. Any game in Happy Valley is always going to be tough. The last time I saw Iowa play in Happy Valley, I was at freaking homecoming at my high school. They actually threw the game on so that way there was a little bit of entertainment on the TVs for just a little bit before the dancing actually got started. And
I will say something. In the last game in Happy Valley, Iowa did get smoked. I'm not going to put that lightly. But the game before that was a 6-4 win in Happy Valley.
When was that one?
It's like 2009. Something like that. Hold on.
Because the one game I remember, Iowa didn't get smoked. It was the final drive of the game, and Penn State needed to score a touchdown to win the game. They scored it when the ball from the 1 yard line and a loft pass to the end zone. I would remember that, and I remember that it was a really close game. Iowa just barely dropped the game.
Mm-hmm.
But but like I said, Happy Valley is not an easy place to walk.
Let me look this up. All right, Winsipedia. Let's see what they got. Yep, like I said, before Iowa's win streak, Penn State went on a 6-game win streak, dating back to 2011. The most recent game that Penn State won was a 17-12 walk-off touchdown.
2017.
19.
19?
And then the most recent... Oh, okay, yeah. So 2018, 30-24, Penn State won. 2017, Penn State won 21-19 in Iowa City.
That's the one. That was in Iowa City?
Yeah. 2016, this was a game I remember. Penn State won 41-14.
I don't remember that game being in Iowa City. I thought that. Oh, you know what? Now I do because I remember. But doesn't Penn State wears their blue jerseys even in their whiteout game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I remember their blue jerseys that night? I have to look at the play again. But,
okay, so the games I remember, 2004, it was a 6-4 win in Happy Valley. I watched that game. That was not the best game to watch. And I watched some bad ones as an Iowa fan. All right, on to Iowa State.
Penn State versus Iowa. I'll get that up really quick. All right, so share this tab so that way it switches over. So yeah, Iowa State opens up their opponent with actually a very well-respected team, and I give all my respects to this team. That's the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, last time Oklahoma State was in our turf, we did it again. We upset them when they were a top 10 team in the nation, and it was on the what? 12-year anniversary of the not 12.
You tell me, dude. You're the Iowa State fan.
It was the 11-year anniversary of the night of the Oklahoma State Cowboys plane crashing. By the way, God rest their souls because that was.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what?
Okay.
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay, actually, I have it. Oh, actually, I have it over here. Hold on, let me go grab it really quick.
At first, I thought he was talking about the anniversary of the big Thanksgiving night, like the big Thanksgiving night from like 2011, like when they had Brandon Weeden.
Let me turn off my green screen really quick. Oh, wrong one.
So while we're waiting, the Chicago Wolves have signed about 10 players to contracts for next season. Peter Abdonato Hudson Elliott, Dominic Franco, Kyle Marino, Cole Schneider, Chris Terry. Like that
This
name
is
sounds
not-
familiar.
That stuff out here.
Oh, yeah.
So this night, actually, the day started out very tragic for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State Cowboys women's basketball coach and assistant coach died in a plane crash. I think it was either coming back from or going to a game. I don't remember what. But Oklahoma State was playing with heavy hearts that day. And even Jack Trice Stadium did the correct thing to do a moment of silence for Oklahoma State. I'm pretty sure the entire college football community did. If they didn't, how dare them. But that night really affected how Oklahoma State played that day. Iowa State took 100% advantage of it and upset the number 2 team ranked in the nation. It is, and Elijah, you're going to hate me when I say this, but it is still classified as the biggest upset in the state of Iowa rank-wise. Because Iowa nor Iowa State have beaten a number 1 ranked team in their entire history. At least as far as I know.
I will argue. This isn't biggest upset, like ranked upset in terms of the team was ranked. But I will argue that the 2017
Ohio State win.
Ohio State 55-24. I will argue that was bigger than Oklahoma State.
I can agree. I can agree with that one. I can see the argument. The only reason I say that Iowa State's was bigger was because that was their first win against a top 2 opponent.
Yeah, wasn't that the 2011 Thanksgiving game?
Let me confirm that. But anyway, let me finish up my preview. Then Jake, while you give your opinion, I'll look that up. But Iowa State does have Oklahoma State's number recently in Jack Trice Stadium. At least the last two times they played in Jack Trice. Oklahoma State's. I'm gonna say this. Oklahoma State's not a team to mess around with. Iowa State almost beat them last year as well in their turf. I don't see why Iowa State doesn't get revenge, but I also see why they do, considering their offense is about the same as Iowa's last season. I'm sorry. I'm throwing Iowa under the bus here.
I am going to side with Oklahoma State. Iowa had the 131 ranked offense in the FBS out of 133 teams.
Where was Iowa State's in that?
I had no clue, but all I know is that Iowa State or Iowa was really bad. It was terrible.
You also got to look at it this way. Iowa State, from last season, if that carries over, then this game might be completely different from what you predict. Iowa State had literally the best defense in the Big 12. Yes, their record doesn't show that. But you look at the stats. That proves it. But
so what you're saying is Iowa and Iowa State's season last year was somewhat the same. Besides record,
yes, because both
good, great defense, horrible offense.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
November 18th, 2011 was when that game happened. The 2011 game between Oklahoma State and Iowa State.
So it was not Thanksgiving. It was the Thanksgiving game was the week before.
After that, because also that year was the first overtime win between Iowa and Iowa State. And why am I slow as crap? There we go. But yeah, earlier that year was the first overtime game between Iowa and Iowa State. Ironically, ended the same score as the second overtime game.
2017, I think.
In 2017. I'm not gonna lie. That's
that game made me bipolar in so many ways. That was a panic attack.
Yeah, but Jake, what is your opinion on both the Penn State and Oklahoma State games for both sides?
Penn State's going to be interesting again because, well, they're predicted to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten East. Like a lot of I I've heard people talking about Penn State potentially being up there with like Ohio State and Michigan.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
So that's already going to be at a disadvantage for us.
I see Iowa. Now this is my thing. I see Iowa coming into the game as a 15 or more point underdog, minimum 15.
I could see that actually, especially because the first Big Ten game again with McNamara as Iowa's quarterback, and going into Penn State, and also with it being the whiteout game, and I think it's also like the game of the week that week or something like that.
It's on CBS, and that's the first Big Ten game on CBS since 1985. So
yeah, it's going to be a massive, massive game. And
it's going to be probably the most watched game of the week. I won't be surprised if Gus Johnson goes to Happy Valley for that game.
Maybe. I don't know, because I know he's
he's
under Fox contract, I'm pretty sure. Unless he does Big Ten and I don't know.
He's under contract for Big Ten too, because Big Ten has had games on like ESPN that he's called or whatever. So maybe.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd love to see that, because Gus Johnson, especially his football calls, are just
as a aspiring podcaster, he is one of the people that I despise, but I'll listen to him. I have to listen to him. I just don't like the way he calls. He calls a 2-yard run the same as he calls a 98-yard pass.
Hey, see, I've always loved him as a broadcaster and an announcer, but again, to each their own. It's a lot better than some of them out there. Some of them are just so monotone the whole time. But again, that could be a different debate for a different day. Anyway, just kind of circling back here with Iowa and Penn State. If I had to bet money today, I'd probably pick Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, though, who knows too going into that game? Because as both of us and as all of us know, we watched enough sports, not even just football or whatnot, but all it takes is 1 or 2 injuries or 1 or 2 players not being 100%.
2021.
Yeah, we could be looking at a completely different team.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I'm going to give Penn State the nod here, just because, again, Penn State, they have potential playoff aspirations for 2023, because next year they move to the 10 or the 12 team playoff versus just the normal 4. So,
or is it next year or is it 2 years? I think it's 25, isn't it?
It's not this coming year, it's the following year.
Yeah.
So it's 24.
Yeah, 2024, I think, is when they do to the 12 team
Okay.
playoff. But anyway, regardless, so however, though, I was always good at 1 or 2 1 or 2, I guess, upsets, like big upsets every few years or so. So
If this game wasn't kidding, I would give the nod to Iowa. But it's not. So
yeah. And then kind of going to the Oklahoma State, Iowa State game. Like I say, it is at Trice, which is never an easy place to play anyway, regardless of what team comes into town.
Including Iowa.
Yeah, and this game does look a little bit like a little bit more evenly matched. Plus, this will be the second year of, oh God, I'm trying to remember what the name of Iowa State's quarterback is now.
Deckers,
thank you.
Yep.
And hopefully this year, Campbell can take that step forward in the Big 12, especially with it being the last year of Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12.
I cannot wait for them to freaking leave this conference, dude. I am so fed up with them thinking that they're good enough to go to the SEC. Yet they haven't made the Big 12 title game. Well, Oklahoma most recently, but Texas hasn't made it since what, 2010?
Well, Texas hasn't really been the relevant. Yeah, Texas hasn't really been the relevant hook 'em horn since like the early 2000s, if we're really being honest here. Even though I think they might have been the last team to win as a national champion for the Big 12, but that was like back in like 2006, I think. So it's been a while. But like I say, Oklahoma State, I mean, I don't know who's all coming back for them as far as like big names and stuff like that. And with Iowa State and Oklahoma State being where they are, I could see this being a coin toss game. Or I could see Oklahoma State blowing out Iowa State by 50. It just kind of depends on what Iowa State team shows up here, in my opinion.
100%. Go ahead.
But if I had to predict, I'd say right now I'm leaning towards Oklahoma State. But it could be like a 3 or 5 point game type of thing.
Oh, it's gonna be. Iowa State can play Oklahoma State close, especially if it's in Jack Trice. But you gotta look at the future of this. This rivalry. This will be a fun game to watch here in the next for what, week 4, week 5, 4, I think 4, yeah, 4. But yeah, while Elijah's doing what he's doing in the background there, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Iowa State's next opponent, and that is the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, oh boy, Oklahoma's not been an easy opponent for Iowa State to beat the past couple of years. They have beaten them recently in, what was it? I
think it was 17?
Campbell's first year. When I actually found out a really funny story about that. I don't know if I told anyone this. I know someone that actually went to Oklahoma. Her first year was the year that the year after Campbell took over. And her dad informed me that Oklahoma did not practice for Iowa State that week. With a Baker Mayfield-led offense. And I'm like, dude, you're freaking stupid. And Iowa State took advantage of that. So I think Oklahoma got the idea. We're not taking Iowa State lightly anymore because, well, they can beat us now. But with the offense that Iowa State has now, that's got to change. The offense definitely needs to change over the offseason. We're about midway through that. A little over a month away from the first game of the season being
month and a half, give or take.
So August 26th, I assume, is the first day.
First week of September. So
first week of September would be the 2nd. So yeah, who knows? But if Iowa State can get their offense going, their defense should still be solid enough to at least keep Oklahoma at bay without their doors being blown off. We're not talking about TCU. But then again, if the offense cannot get going, then this game is going to be an actual crapshoot for Iowa State. They need to have the offense for this game. And if they do have it, then I think Iowa State can pull off a slight upset. If they don't, then expect Oklahoma to probably run right through that defense after about, let's say, third quarter. Because that's when the TCU game got out of hand for Iowa State last week.
I think, now this is from an Iowa fan's perspective, I think that Oklahoma is just going to mop the floor with Iowa State. But that's just mine.
Yeah, that's just because you're the Hawkeye fan here.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you think? Actually, no. Let's get the Michigan State game first. Elijah, you're up.
Yeah. All right. So, Iowa, after what I'm predicting as a loss, returns home to host the Michigan State Spartans. The most recent meeting between the cross-division foes saw the Hawkeyes put on the cruise control, demolishing the Spartans 40-97 in 2020. Now that's in front of 0 fans. So, needless to say, a lot has changed. Last season, Michigan State went 5-7. A really disappointing season, to say the least. So, it's not going to change for them, right? A storyline to watch is a former Hawkeye defensive back Terry Roberts' commitment to the Spartans in the portal this past offseason. So, this offseason. He actually committed to Miami. And then after 6 months, he decommitted or he entered the portal again. So, like all Big Ten games, this won't come easy. Hawks win by a score and improve to 4-1.
And Jake?
Well, I mean, again, it just depends on which Michigan State team shows up, because are we going to get the Michigan State of the last couple seasons in which they're just are bad? Like, there's just no easy way to say it. Like, after the Michigan State like upset, when was that? 2021, I think. 2020, 2021, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Crushed Michigan's hopes of making the playoffs that year. They've just gotten throttled by a lot of the bigger teams in the East. And depending on which Michigan State team shows up, because honestly, I'm not going to lie, going back to that like magical season for Iowa in, I think it was 2016, 15 or 16, when we were like this close to making the playoffs that year, only to then be beaten by a guy by the name of Case Cook.
Yeah.
And Michigan State ended up going to the champion, or like to the Final Four, only to then get blown out by Alabama, but such is life. I mean, again, it's a toss-up here, because I think by now McNamara probably has like everything settled in, and we start getting into like the crux of the season where everything is just, basically you kind of know more what you have by now. You kind of understand what your team is by now. So with that said,
And I will say,
I give
McNamara and Eric all have experience playing Michigan State. Coming from Michigan.
Exactly. Because McNamara was the backup in Michigan, and then he like transferred to Iowa, what was it, last season?
December.
So yeah, I mean, obviously he knows a thing or two about Michigan State. Being from Michigan, like, being the backup in Michigan and stuff like that. But I just have to say, Hawkeyes probably take this one, in my opinion, because it's at Kinnick.
Mm-hmm.
And Michigan State really hasn't been the greatest over the last couple seasons. Granted, like I say, this could all change once we actually get closer to that date, because there's still like off season and injuries and this and that. The other thing, but right now, if I were to bet on this game, I give Iowa the slight win.
Okay. And then how about Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, good God. I really don't know, because
Oklahoma, good God.
Well, let's put it this way, Elijah and Trevor. Either Iowa State wins by 3 or they get blown out by 63. It's never one or the other with Oklahoma. It's either Iowa State pulls off the victory or Oklahoma just absolutely mops the floor with us. I have no idea why. I have no idea how. It's always been that way as long as I can remember. So, but
let's just throw that out there.
So, again, it depends on what Iowa State team shows up for this game and what Oklahoma team shows up for this game. But as of now, I have to give it to Oklahoma just because they're at home. Last season of playing Iowa State, and stuff like that. So they might have some motivation to try to run through the Big 12 one last time before probably getting demolished in the SEC.
Oh, okay.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
Is it bad if I watch an Oklahoma SEC game, I'm literally going to sit down, grab the popcorn, and then cheer for every touchdown and just smile and grin? Is it bad that I want to do that?
You have all the right in the world to do that, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. More up is going to be the Purdue at Iowa game, I believe.
Oh boy. Okay. Iowa, they host Purdue after, I hope, improving to 4-1. The last time that happened was 2021, and the number 2 team in the nation got upset just 2 weeks after beating the aforementioned Nittany Lions in an all-time classic. Last year, the Hawks went into West Lafayette and beat the Boilermakers 24-3. So both teams will have revenge in mind. Iowa from 2021 and Purdue from last season. it should be a good one inside Kinnick for homecoming. Last season, Purdue won the West Division, earning an ass kicking that came from Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. Aiden O'Connell went to the NFL draft, so QB play falls on senior Austin Burton. 5 weeks into the season, he should be well adjusted to the playing style of Purdue and having the starting job. And this is a storyline is this will be the first time breakout wide receiver Charlie Jones returns to Iowa after transferring after the 2021 season. Hawks were a tough one, improving to 5-1.
And then for Iowa State's next opponent, do I even want to talk about these guys? It's the fourth ranked team in the nation, TCU Horned Frogs. I will throw this out here. Do not count out Iowa State at home, especially against TCU, because the last couple of games that Iowa State has played against TCU in Jack Trice, they've all been wins, and the closest one being the when they were ranked number 4 in the nation as number 25, a 14-7 win on a last play interception that sealed away the game. That was incredible to watch. But like I said, it's all going to come down to if the defense can hold strong through all 4 quarters, and if the offense can actually power through what is most likely, I think, the second best defense in the entire Big 12 in TCU, because oh my God. All respects to TCU and Matt Duggan, Iowa boy. Let's throw that out there.
Max
cannot disrespect an Iowa man, but
I despise him for the fact that he almost committed to Iowa.
Yeah. This game's going to be tough for Iowa State, especially if it's at home, and if TCU's got the same core as they did last year. Don't count out TCU and going undefeated this year for the Big 12 title game before probably losing the title game again because I don't know how they lost that game. But don't count out TCU and being a tough opponent. But if Iowa State does pull this out, it's going to have to be either a last-second field goal or it's going to have to be a heroic interception like what 2018 was. It was 18 or 19.
Just like last week, which I think was Oklahoma. Either Iowa State's gonna win by 3 or they're gonna lose by 83.
That's why I said it's gonna have to come down to the defense standing strong when needed, or the offense is gonna have to get our kicker. I don't even know who our kicker is this year because our kicker was kind of last year.
Yeah.
But Jake, let's have you give the opinions. Let's start off. Let's go reverse. Let's go TCU then Purdue.
Again, TCU made it to the national championship game last year.
Oh, they did?
In and of itself,
because they didn't show up at all.
Yeah, they made.
Go shut the hell up! They still beat you.
Yeah,
by 45.
Yeah, I mean that game was over at the end of the first quarter. But regardless, they still made it all the way to the championship game, and you can't take that away from them. However, though, they do lose Max Duggan because I think he graduated and is now. I don't know if he's on a practice squad in the NFL or whatever the case is, but I'm pretty sure he's graduated. So they're gonna have.
He got drafted by the Chargers.
Alrighty, so yeah, they're gonna have a new quarterback. I don't know how much of their core also was like seniors and stuff like that and left, because I agree with Trevor. Like, depending on how many are left of that main core will determine on how TCU really does this year, because TCU has always been one of those interesting teams where they're either like fighting for the Big 12 championship or they're like bottom tier, like 3 or 4 wins a season. And then last year they just were on a different level. like throughout the
Let's be honest,
entire
we were
season.
all pulling for TCU to win that national championship game. Let's
Oh, I
100%
was.
be honest.
I was, just because it was kind of nice to see someone other than the SEC just absolutely run away with it every year. But again, like I say, that's a different, college football video for a different day, especially if you don't root for any like Georgia, Bama, or any of those teams down there.
I will say one thing, that Michigan and TCU game was a classic.
Oh, it was.
It was. It really was.
That was a great game.
That might have been the best game of the entire playoffs.
Oh yeah. I remember I was in Waterloo at a hockey game, and I'm like, Dad, TCU is about to win. He's like, oh yeah. So he got it up on my phone. The Blackhawks were winning by like 3 goals, so we were standing up watching a football game while the third period was going on. That's pretty.
Yeah. So anyway, just to kind of wrap this up here. Honestly, something is telling me Iowa State right now. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But again, it all comes down to, no more Max Duggan. No more of that, like magical core. How many of those guys are gone? Plus, it's at Jack Trice. And Iowa State and TCU have always been, thorn in each other's sides. TCU has, I should say Iowa State has had TCU's number, it feels like, more often than not. But TCU, like I say, other than the year that they made it all the way to the championship last year, I mean,
they've been pretty mediocre.
Yeah. But you can really argue that.
You
can really argue that about a lot of the Big 12.
Elijah, can you look up something for me really quick?
What is that?
Look up the previous matchups between TCU and Iowa State really quick, because if I remember correctly, Iowa State was actually on a 5-game winning streak against TCU at one point.
3
games.
Still, 3 years in a row, and then TCU makes it all the way to the national championship games.
So TCU has a 9-5 advantage. Obviously, the last season was not close. No. Neither was 21. Iowa State won 48-14.
I remember that game.
2020, was there fans at that game or not? 2020.
There definitely shouldn't have been if there was.
Iowa State won 37-34, and then 2019 Iowa State won 49-24. So yeah. Iowa State won 3 out of the last 4.
Okay, so like I said, Iowa State recently has had TCU's number. So part of me thinks, well, since now I know Max Duggan is gone, part of me thinks that Iowa State might be able to actually win this game now.
Yeah, and that's why again, I'm pulling that right now as of July 10th at 2:52 Central Standard Time, Iowa State will win this. Granted, like I say, now we're starting to get towards that time of the year where injuries and, all that stuff will start to pile up and, see what your depth can be like or who's healthiest and stuff like that. Once you get about a month or month and a half into the season is really when you start seeing, alrighty, which teams are for real and which teams are, just kind of basically for bowl eligibility. So right now I say Iowa State wins this game. Now go for it.
July 10th, we're about a month and a half away from the season, so this is the time where you figure out who's going to be healthy, who's going to be able to play. So that, obviously, we don't know any of that yet, so that could have a huge factor in these games.
Oh, yeah. And like I say, a good season and like a championship caliber season is just, it can be just as important when you hit a team at what time as it is how good your team is. Because if we go like Oklahoma or let's say if Iowa State goes into Oklahoma, but like half their Oklahoma roster is out due to injury or whatever, then, there's a better chance there. But it's all about when you hit teams at what time, at what strength.
That's, yeah, I mean, You hit that nail on the head right there.
So, anyway, kind of quickly circling to the Purdue Iowa game. I don't know. I have a feeling because you said this is Iowa's homecoming.
No. Nope.
No.
Their homecoming is Rutgers.
Rutgers?
Let me fact check that.
Okay. Anyway, I'll just kind of give my thoughts here. Iowa should beat Purdue at home because it's at home. And I know Purdue, they lost their quarterback and stuff like that. Granted, the return of Charlie, you said John. I can never remember Jones. There's so many Jones, Johnsons, and stuff like that. It's hard to remember, especially when you follow like 8 different sports at the same time. But regardless, I feel like Iowa should win this game by about 7 to 10 points, I would say.
All Big Ten games are close. I mean, even if you're favored to win them by 20, it usually below that.
Oh yeah, I know. But like I say, again, it all just depends on when we hit Purdue with what offense and defensive weapons and who's all on the shelf by this point. But
if you guys
again, right now I give Iowa the win.
If you guys want to chat it up really quick, I got to take one of my dogs out, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it is homecoming. Yeah, it is homecoming. Yep.
So, yeah, if it's homecoming, too, you can add just that little extra juice to the crowd and to the players and stuff like that. As long as none of the players are juiced on the sideline, if you know what I mean, then everything should be all right. Trust me, homecoming is a different animal. Even at a smaller school like University of South Dakota, homecoming is a different beast.
I went to the Cyhawk game last season, and it wasn't pretty.
Oh yeah.
Well, I will get moving on here to Wisconsin. Let me talk about that.
The Floyd or Rosedale?
Heartland.
Right? Heartland Trophy. That's right. Rosedale's Minnesota.
Correct.
I don't know. They keep changing the name of the damn trophies. It feels like.
The Hawks travel to Madison. What is he doing?
And for me, this is the game to watch at this point because Wisconsin is one of those teams that if they're on, they're a threat.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, they just haven't been, at that same level as they have been in years past. But with a new coach and in Madison and stuff like that, it's going to be interesting to see.
The Hawks will travel to Madison in the battle for the Heartland Trophy. Last season, the Hawks regained said trophy in a 24-10 win over the Badgers at home. Under new management, the Badgers will be seeking revenge at home. Junior quarterback Graham Mertz entered the transfer portal, so it remains to be seen who will have the starting job. As for rushing, will most likely be talented junior Braylon Allen, who had 230 carries for just above 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. Biggest storyline in this game will definitely be the quarterback play of both teams. McNamara plays at a hostile territory. How Wisconsin's quarterback will, handle Iowa's probably top 5 defense in the nation. As we've seen before, a team can really be hindered by poor quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
Last season for Iowa.
I don't think I have to keep going down that rabbit hole. Jesus. I'm pretty sure I could have completed more passes, but anyway.
Hawks win and become bowl eligible and improve to 6-1.
All right, now we get to. Hang on, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Let me double check to make sure this is right really quick before I say anything. Yes, it is. Let's get to Iowa State's first brand new opponent, and that is the one and only Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm really excited to see how what Cincinnati is going to do in their first year in the Big 12. I cannot really give much of an analysis for this game to be quite frank, because
Neither can I, really. Neither can I.
Because Elijah, confirm this. These two teams have never played against each other, if I am correct.
I will confirm. You keep talking. So,
if that's the case, I got nothing for this game. All I can give is Louisville. I'm looking at.
Nope, nothing.
They have not played each other.
Mm-mm.
So this will be the first game between these two teams. Oh, we're making history in college football this year. I can't give an opinion. With that being said, Cincinnati's coming off a very good year in their final year in, what was it, the AAC?
Mm-hmm. Group of 5.
So they're coming off their final year in a Group of 5 conference, moving to a Power 5 conference, which makes them very noticeable immediately, which I think that's such bull crap in my opinion.
How so?
It's because it's the college football playoff aspect of it. That's why. But they
made the playoff as a Group of 5 team.
Yep. Not last year, but the year before.
Yeah, okay. But then again, the first Group of 5 team to make it was Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the playoff has been going since 2015. So took almost 10 years to get their first Group of 5. But that's a whole debate for another video. If you guys want that video, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe. Never done that.
Little shameless plug right there.
Yep.
Little shameless plug. Yep. Hey, you gotta do it once in a while, all right? Cincinnati is a very good opponent. I love Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati as when they were in the Group of 5. They were actually one of the teams I always had that what they doing over there type of mood. You know what I mean? If we're gonna have an Iowa State team that can run the tables a little bit, not too much, Iowa State should probably win this game, but it's Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not going to be an easy team to beat. So I want Iowa State to win, but something's telling me that Cincy's going to clip us probably by either a point or two in our first meeting. Jake, since you technically don't know what you're wanting, do you have anything you want to say about Cincinnati?
Well, I mean, Cincinnati has had, I guess, they have had both Kelsey brothers go through there.
I think so.
Let me confirm that. Travis and Jason Kelsey College. Both played together at the University of Cincinnati, so yes.
And then they were the first power or non-power 5 to make the playoffs. Granted, that was 2 years ago. And last year, I don't know what their record was overall.
I can double check that for you real quick. They were, if this thing loads, 9-4. Second in the American.
So, I mean, they're coming, it's not like they don't have, a decent resume for not being a big school. I mean, making the
Cincinnati's even a big school, even for what they were in a Group of 5 school, they were still a pretty big school.
So yeah, I mean, it's not like they're jumping from the D2 to D1 level, but it's just again, I don't have a lot on them because it's, again, other than the year that they made the Final Four, you really don't get a lot of coverage about Cincinnati unless you're a Cincinnati fan.
Especially with them being Group of 5, you don't get much of anything, if at all.
Yeah. Like I said,
what we can do is we can compare them against their Power 5 opponents, because they always start off with Power 5 opponents.
Well, their schedule, Cincinnati's schedule, they go to Eastern Kentucky, they host Pitt, and they go to the Miami of Ohio and Oklahoma, and then they host BYU, go to Iowa State, and Baylor. They host Oklahoma State, travel to UCF, host Houston and West Virginia, and then finish it out on Thanksgiving at Kansas.
I will throw this out here before Jake, you can continue. Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. They're looking at, you guys can clearly see what I'm looking at here. Arkansas was actually the winning opponent, and they almost beat them.
They beat Indiana by 19 points.
And they beat Indiana by 19 points. So that kind of makes me a little bit more worried about this game.
Cincinnati wins. Cincinnati wins. That's something.
You're the Iowa fan here.
Because I know how Indiana plays. And if they can beat Indiana by 19 points.
But then again, Indiana's kind of
Again, plus with it being at Cincinnati, I kind of agree with Trevor on this one. They probably, they could it's got to be a 1 or 2 point game probably, if I had to guess. And like I say, new opponent, you only have so much film and you only have so many hours in the day and, pointers you can do, basically. But if I had to guess, I'd say Cincinnati probably gets it because they're at home. First time I think a Big 12 opponent goes into their house. So there might be a little extra juice and a little extra motivation to be like, hey, we belong here. So with that said, I say Cincinnati wins by 2.
All right. And then 2, Wisconsin for you. Unless I don't know if you did
one. Make me one. Okay, no, I've already done Wisconsin.
Yeah. He started off with that since you were taking your dog out and stuff like that. So.
Oh, so you already gave your opinion.
You already
gave your opinion.
Well, he did. I kind of was on a rant, because Iowa Wisconsin has always been one of those games that's been. It's always hard to tell what's going to happen because Iowa and Wisconsin are longtime rivals. They're longtime rivals. Wisconsin has always had decent teams. Heck, do you want me to go through how many running backs have made it into the NFL from Wisconsin that have actually contributed pretty well and stuff like that? So
it's crazy.
Wasn't Zeke one of them?
No, Zeke was Ohio State.
Zeke was Ohio State.
But I'm talking about Melvin Gordon was probably one of the more notable ones from Wisconsin.
Well, I can also tell you one quarterback that was in Wisconsin that's not really relevant anymore, but...
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
There you go.
Oh, and the Watt brothers. Both Watt brothers came from Wisconsin, if I remember right.
I'm going to jump in here. The longest win streak for Iowa was 85 to 96, so 10 years, but that was when Hayden Fry was the coach and Iowa was top of the nation every season.
Yeah, so... It's been a little more even keel.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, though,
I'll throw this out there before you give a prediction. Going into Madison is not an easy task.
Oh, hell no.
Nope, not at all.
But
the last time they played in Madison was a loss for Iowa. So,
and honestly, again, as of now, I'm going to give it to Wisconsin. By 3.
That's a good prediction.
Iowa hasn't won in Madison since their undefeated season in 2015.
So, yeah, another reason why I still think then Wisconsin probably takes it this time. Because, again, it's a big game. It's a rivalry game. It's the Heartland Trophy. It's, it's a big matchup every year. So, yeah, Wisconsin by 3.
Let us get to... Is it my turn to go first, or is it your turn, Elijah?
I don't really care.
Let's go.
I have it up now. Let's go with me? Okay. Let me get my game up really quick. Y'all will see the next game that Elijah will predict, but I'm going to pull up mine, and that is Baylor. Now, I can't really say that last year's Baylor game was easy to watch because it really wasn't, because there was so much crap that happened against Iowa State in that game. But that's
It was sloppy on both sides. Let's just say it was sloppy on both sides.
It really was. And Baylor had so much stuff go more their way than Iowa State's that game literally could have been a toss-up. I mean, if you look at Iowa State's full schedule from last year, the games literally could flip and the story could be the exact same. So, and that's the same thing with Baylor. Baylor was Iowa State's first opponent to open up Big 12 play last season, and Baylor barely walked away with the win. It was, a 14-point game, I believe it was. I think it was. I'm going to double check that.
I can just go to Wikipedia. Keep talking.
Okay. So, yeah, I know, like, Baylor, and it's also in McLean Stadium. So McLean, again, we're talking a place that's not easy to go in and win. But then again, that's basically every stadium. But
including Trice and Kinnick. I mean, a lot of opponents say the same thing about Trice and Kinnick. I mean, it's never easy to win on the road, especially if it's a high-profile, high-intensity game or like a rivalry game.
Yeah.
Ranked teams going to Kinnick to die.
You can even say the same about Jack Trice when they're on, too. Like, both Iowa and Iowa State have always been like, especially when both Iowa and Iowa State are clicking at full cylinders. Exactly, Elisha. That's where ranked teams go to die. Like, that's where, like, top 10, top 15 teams, they don't quite have I don't know if it's because they don't believe or if they just write everything off, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, Iowa and Iowa State have been known to create some massive upsets. So, anyway, yeah, kind of.
Let me throw this out here really quick because, and Elijah, you could virtually slap me for this one. Yes, Kinnick is a place where ranked teams go to die, except when you're Purdue. Yep, saw that one coming. But like McLean Stadium, like, yes, that's a brand new stadium. It opened up 2015, if I remember correctly. Help me out here.
I have no clue.
McLean Stadium. Let me do a quick Google search. McLean Stadium.
Sounds about right.
So I know RG3 didn't play there. So
opened on my birthday, August 2014. That's funny. That's actually really funny. Okay.
All right.
So they opened up for the 2015 season. So, if Iowa State wants to have a solid chance at making a bowl game, this is a game that Iowa State has got to win. Mm-hmm. I think Baylor is going to be the team that Iowa State's always usually rolls over one opponent, and that's a conference opponent. I'll get to that team later. I don't even think we play that team that I'm talking about. But Baylor should be an easy team for us to beat because I mean it's always been a close game, but
what are the odds saying currently? Like
odds are Baylor wins by 69.5.
Damn. All right.
But then again, that's also just going based off of last season's offense, which we both know, which all three of us should know that offense is going to be different this year. Hope to God.
Hope to God on both sides. But anyway,
Baylor's going to give us a tough run, but I think Iowa State pulls out at the very end. Jake, let's start with you. Let's switch over to Iowa first.
I didn't do my. All right, here we go.
Oh, my bad.
The Golden Gophers traveled to the Hawkeye State for a battle for the float of Rosedale. I do have a question for both of you, though. Is this even considered a rivalry anymore?
I don't know, honestly. Like, I mean, maybe Minnesota maybe a little bit more for Minnesota. But yeah, it seems like for Iowa, it's like, really, there's three teams, in my opinion. The Cyhawk, Wisconsin, Nebraska. And Elijah, you could probably back me up on that. It feels like those three teams are like the big three that when you talk to any Iowa fan or Iowan in general who knows anything about the Hawkeyes, it's Nebraska, Wisconsin, and the Cyhawk game.
I mean, Nebraska always gives us a tough time, no matter what their record is. I mean, they can be 2-10 and they give us a tough game.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay,
point last year.
Iowa has absolutely dominated Minnesota for 7 years and counting. They lost their star running back Mo Ibrahim, and their QB plays up in the air. It will most likely be Artemi Kaliakmanis, who played in the Iowa game last season, but he didn't do that hot. I mean, Minnesota ran the ball most of the game because he's a backup. He didn't think he'd be playing until 2 hours before the game. The best thing Minnesota has to look forward to is this time next year. Hawks win easy and improve to 7-1 and keep the Floyd at home for 8 straight seasons.
I will throw this out here. Minnesota, looking at last year's matchup, it was literally only a 3-point score. And then the year before that was a 5-point score. So,
to be
last
fair,
season's game, I watched all of last season's game. It was like 20 degrees and it was cold. Mm-hmm. So there was literally virtually no offense. It was all running.
Yep.
So that explains the low score. It was all running the ball because it was 20 degrees and it was cold. It wasn't.
Like I say though, now we're starting to get towards that time of year where
it's gonna be like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that's why I'm telling everybody that it's going to be super comical in 2 seasons when UCLA comes to Kinnick in November and there's snow on the ground.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Exactly. Like, because the Pac-12 maybe outside of like Washington,
All Washington is rain.
Yeah. So it's not like they're used to like cold weather climates like we are.
A lot of people are saying this, but I don't think USC and UCLA compete for a title in the first 2 years. Just because of where everyone's at. I mean, Michigan, Minnesota, the Illinois teams, Indiana, Purdue, Iowa. Those are all teams in the Midwest that have cold weather.
Bingo. You can even say Rutgers, Penn State. They get pretty chilly out
there. Yeah.
Michigan State. Yeah, I mean, you name it.
It's cold weather.
And imagine carrying a big-ass trophy in cold weather.
Okay.
Damn.
But yeah. So anyway.
Confirm me for this really quick. Floyd is the heaviest trophy of the 4 that Iowa play for, correct?
98 pounds.
Oh, shit. I didn't even realize it was that heavy.
No, then it's the Heartland that's heavier.
Maybe.
I think the Heartland's 110 pounds.
Well, anyway, like I say, yeah, I mean, well, you guys ready then? Or do you want me to, do you still have anything else you have to say there, Elijah? Or
I do not, but I am looking up how much these trophies weigh, because now I'm interested.
Alrighty.
So, Jake, go ahead with let's start off with Minnesota since I have that one up on screen.
Oh, please. I was going to run away with them. I have a feeling.
Thank you. Iowa, the Florida Rosedale is the heaviest at 98 pounds.
Yeah. The reason why I say that's because, again, they lost arguably their biggest offensive weapon in Mo Ibrahim.
Bingo.
And I don't know what their running game looks like now. Because if Minnesota's run game is on, well, just ask, what was it, 2019?
Yeah.
Like that year they had like their magical run last time?
29. I think it was 2019 because Minnesota came into Kinnick at 9-0, and then they lost to Iowa.
Yep,
so, yeah.
23-19.
But, yeah, just for whatever reason, Minnesota can never play. I'm not going to say necessarily we always blow them out all the time or whatever the case is, but we usually find a way to win.
Yeah.
And it's at Kinnick. Sorry, too many damn arenas. Anyway,
Too many
so yeah,
games.
I have Iowa winning this by, I'm going to go conservatively 10-13. It'll be probably a 2-score game.
What time of the year? It's October. This game's in October, so yeah, I probably agree with that.
Well, it's like, again, it's usually around this time of year, 50-50, when it starts getting colder out. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
I am going to go next with Northwestern because
hold on. Jake still got his opinion on Baylor.
And I think that Iowa State will beat Baylor. Again, there's always a couple of games that Iowa State and Iowa, in the same regard, you think have no business of winning. Yet they somehow pull a rabbit out of their keister and do it. And I feel like Baylor's probably going to be that game for Iowa State, especially with how last year ended and all that stuff. So,
all right.
Yeah, that's what I have to say there.
All right, Elijah, go ahead and get started. I'll pull up the.
Okay,
game.
so, yeah, football and Wrigley Field. The Hawks will head east for an away game, air quotes, at Northwestern. I mean, we know that Iowa fans will pack their friendly confines and make this an 8th home game for Iowa, because.
Especially if you've been hearing about what's been going on in Northwestern. Recently.
I'll get to
that. Yeah. Anyway, you go ahead and talk. I go grab some more water. I'll be right back.
All right. Northwestern didn't win on American soil last year, beating Nebraska and Ireland in week 0 and going on a season-long losing streak afterwards, including a 33-3 loss to the worst offense in the nation. Where am I? I don't see Northwestern putting up a fight with Iowa's improved offense in front of a pro-Iowa crowd.
I'm gonna. Oh, you're not done. Sorry.
Jump in.
I'll say this. I love that we get to see an Iowa team play in my favorite baseball team's home ballpark. That's going to be fun to watch. I love to see. Please be right when I say this. Blow the absolute crap off of Northwestern's doors, for the love of God. If Iowa does not go in and win in Wrigley Field against this crappy rear-ended Northwestern football team that last brought, then Iowa, you've got an issue, and that's the okay. No. Look, here.
I'm not even finished. Hey, quit.
You said.
Are you only finished?
Oh, go ahead. I didn't know you were talking.
Northwestern could be under new management. There have been reports this past weekend of hazing going on for 16 plus years at the Northwestern football program.
You say easing?
Hazing.
Ooh.
So detail is too graphic for YouTube. I mean, you can look them up on Twitter. But players have come out and said that that's going on. And, you know, if I talk about it, you're going to get banned from YouTube, so I shouldn't talk about it. Hawks win by 20 plus and improved to 8-1.
So what I was saying was, Hawkeye Nation,
That's right.
Blow up the ever-living crap out of the Northwestern Wildcats.
And leave.
In my ballpark, please. Elijah, please agree with me when I say this. If you guys actually lose this game because your offense doesn't perform, this is the game Brian Ferentz needs to be fired from.
Yep.
Yes.
Bingo.
Yes.
Bingo.
Fire Brian Ferentz if you guys lose this game.
Hell, I'd argue for Kirk's head too.
Ooh, no.
Under Beth Goetz or Geets, whatever her name is, she's going to be the new interim AD, which I could see her getting that interim tag removed. And just becoming the AD because she has AD experience at Ball State. before she came to Iowa.
Mhm.
Obviously, she's not going to be as lenient
They lose.
as she's not going to be as lenient as Jerry Barta was to the Ferences and their underperforming. So yes, I do see if Iowa does not win this game and they get upset on the road at Northwestern, then Brian Ferentz will be fired.
Please.
I would also say that
Just please.
I will say that if Iowa also lose this game, Kirk Ferentz is on the hot seat for the rest of the season.
Nope.
Really?
I will disagree with that statement.
Well, to be fair though,
If Iowa is 7-2 at this point, no. If Iowa loses this game and they're 7-2, as I predicted, following my schedule, they're 7-2. No way.
and I agree, actually, but if I was more like 5-4 or like something like that,
Yeah.
then we could be having a different conversation.
If Iowa is floating above bowl eligibility, like 5-4, 6-3, yeah.
Well, I'd say 6-3 you're safe, but anything 5-4 or below at this point, especially for below 500, God forbid, then I could see some real shakeup after this season.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll say this: if they do go, if they're below 500 for a little over a quarter of the season, Brian Ferentz is gone after the season, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And then Kirk Ferentz.
I have a whole page on Brian Ferentz, so we'll get to him.
Okay.
And then Kirk Ferentz will be said, "Hey, this is your only warning. You guys, you need to step it up, because that dude sooner or later he's gonna retire as the winningest head coach in Iowa history. Well, I'm going to say that he will retire as the winningest head coach in Hawkeye football history. No one's
in NCAA history. He is the winningest head coach in NCAA history.
Well, which makes sense for his longevity. Anyway,
Yeah.
regardless.
If this game does go towards Northwestern, his job is on the line.
No, I disagree with that.
No, for the next season. So like he'll still be around for the end of the season and in next season, but if he doesn't step up till next season, then
I disagree with that. If Iowa is 7-2, there ain't no way he's on the hot seat.
Ooh, hold on. We might have some breaking news here from Jake here. He had that look.
Oh, sorry, we might get some severe weather in this area tonight.
Oh.
I just got issued a severe thunderstorm watch for my area. So anyway.
Okay, you talking about Iowa State. I'll be right back.
Okay, so let's get into an opponent where Iowa State should easily do a simple walk in the park, and that's the Kansas Jayhawks. Last year was an actual fluke of a season for Kansas, and it's gonna come back down to earth for Iowa State, for Kansas this coming season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they went on a long streak, and then they lost their last 3 games, starting with Texas Tech, Texas, and Kansas, and then losing their bowl game in triple overtime to Arkansas, which we all saw Arkansas winning that game coming. It's in Jack Trice. Kansas has not beaten Iowa State in Jack Trice in a long time. I'm gonna double check when the last time that happened was. Did I click Arkansas State or did I click Kansas? I hope I clicked Arkansas State. I did. Okay, good. What
the hell is going on with your screen?
What do you mean?
It's glitching for me, like really bad.
It's probably because I have a screen share up.
You're fine on my end. Yeah, you're good on my end.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, it's probably the green screen that's kind of messing with things.
Then let me change that then really quick. Hold on. I wanted it to be Jack Trice, but if it's not going to do that,
yeah.
Does that look any better?
Oh yeah, that's better because your hat was kind of like blopping in and out of there, basically. So
we'll just have the blur up then. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, looking at this game, this is a game that Iowa State should probably walk in the park with, because the last time that Kansas beat Iowa State in Ames was 2008 when Gene Chizik was head coach of Iowa State. I don't even know that head coach. I know Paul Rhodes, who took over 2 years later and only lost to Kansas once. Or no, twice. But yeah. This game should be a win for Iowa State. Kansas hasn't gone back-to-back wins since 05-06, which they actually won close, which was this most recent time, and then they obliterated them in Ames. But then again, we're talking a completely different team. This is a game that Iowa State should easily walk in the park with. I think if Iowa State's riding bowl eligibility, if they didn't win it, take it last week against Baylor, they'll take it this week against Kansas.
Yeah. All
right. I agree.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, you guys ready then, or?
Yep.
Alrighty.
We're ready for you.
Well, Trevor, I'm not saying you guys are going to lose, but I don't think your guys are going to blow them out by like 30 points here. I still say Iowa State. Yeah. I think Iowa State will win, but I think it's going to be again by like a touchdown or so. Maybe like 8 or 9 points at most. Just because what I saw from Kansas last year, I mean, hell, look at, if you scroll down a little bit there, Trev, on your laptop, last 5 games, they beat Oklahoma State by 21 points.
Yeah.
So, granted, they were at home, but still, it was just like one of those games where got blown out by like the rest of them and stuff like that. So, Kansas is always one of those teams, especially recently, now that they actually have competent head coaching, maybe for the first time in like 20 years. Maybe they could actually do something here. But yeah, I still say Iowa State wins. And what were you going to say, Elijah?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kansas went bowling for the first time in like 10 years last year.
Yeah, they were bowl eligible last year. And they got.
But then again, looking at that bowl game, they lost in triple overtime because I was smart.
Yeah, by 2 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it went to triple overtime.
Still.
Triple overtime against Arkansas is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Even if they're not the same Arkansas, it's still an SEC opponent versus a team that, for the most part, you'd be lucky with more than 4 wins a season for the better part of 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, Trevor, I'm not saying Iowa State's going to lose or anything like that, but I'm just saying Kansas isn't one of those sleeper teams anymore. At least in the last few years. Basically, because what you're saying right now is kind of how Oklahoma felt against Iowa State the year they went into Norman and beat them. So that's what I'm saying is you got to take every game the same. It doesn't matter if it's Kansas, Kansas State, or freaking Alabama. You have to have every game. You have to plan like every game is a championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Period, bar none. Especially this time of year, you know, when teams are desperate, teams are hungry, teams are fighting for bowl eligibility, maybe even some playoff eligibility, depending on.
This is what, week like 8 or 9?
I think week 9.
I think, let me look really quick.
Or it could even be like week 10, 9 or 10.
No, I think it's 9 because I have Iowa down with 3 more games after this.
So yeah.
Yep. So then, yeah, this is their first game of their final month. So yeah.
So yeah, basically what I'm saying is Iowa State, Matt Campbell, wake up here, because if Iowa State falls below 500 and loses to Kansas at home, we could be talking about a new Iowa State head coach, maybe.
Now this is my opinion. Matt Campbell has done some amazing things for the Iowa State program.
Mm-hmm.
Duh. Right. But if Iowa State underperforms, especially after this past season going 4-8, if Iowa State underperforms, yeah, we could be looking at the new head coach really, really early in the offseason. I mean, you saw what Iowa State did with their underperforming offense and their defense. They fired their offense. They fired that coordinator. So they have a no fuck around attitude when they underperform.
I mean, you're also talking a team that made their first ever New Year's Six bowl and absolutely dominated their team that they played against in a very good team.
That's what I said. Matt Campbell's done some really good things for the program. But if Iowa State underperforms, we can be looking at a new head coach.
I'm not saying we will either. Like I say, don't get that, just like, again, Elijah, we could be looking at a new regime in Iowa, depending on what Iowa does, too.
Right.
Like, Ferentz doesn't have much longer, let's be honest.
This is, what, his 26th season?
Something like that. Let's put it this way. I'm 28 going on 29, and that's pretty much the only head coach I know is Ferentz.
Same here.
He's held the head coaching position since 1999.
So
that would have been about the time I started recognizing and realizing about football and stuff like that. So that tells you something. But yeah, anyway, like I say, Kansas, like I say, Iowa State, this is a game, like Trevor said, you have to win if you want to be a bowl eligible team, because right now I have Iowa State probably 2 games above 500, I'd guess. So like at this point, I could see Iowa State being about 5-4. And I could see Iowa being 6-3 or 7-2, because there's still a couple of games that could go either way for me.
Iowa State.
Iowa State's one of them, obviously, and also Wisconsin and Iowa, or even Minnesota. I mean, you can't rule out anybody at this point. Purdue is another one that's borderline, I could say. It's one of those things where it depends on what Iowa team shows up, what Iowa State team shows up. So, with that being said, I give Iowa State the win by about 10 points. And for Iowa versus Northwestern, for the love of God, boys, beat the snot out of them.
They didn't win on American soil last year. They should not be an issue.
Especially, not to mention too, the coming out of there now.
I went into that
with a 10-foot.
I kind of went into that without getting Trevor banned from YouTube. So
no, I understand, and we probably all share the same sentiment that if Fitzgerald is still here after this season, or heck, even if he makes it to this season, it'll be interesting.
That's why I said, Northwestern could be looking at new management before the season starts. If these reports are true.
Yeah, and on top of that, Northwestern hasn't really been relevant again since like 2005 or something like that. It's been a long time. I
can confirm that for you. Hold on. Let me look at Wikipedia, because you can actually look at different separate teams just by themselves and look at their
yeah, but to be fair, though, kind of going back to here, Northwestern, the reason why they still have Paul Fitzgerald is because he's literally the reason why Northwestern is even on the map in more than one way. And he's been the head coach there for, God, probably as long as you guys have been alive even. Like, it's been a long time.
Pat Fitzgerald took over in 2006. His first year was 4-8, and he's had one.
Oh, really? It was only 06? I would have thought it was earlier.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's had 10 seasons that are 500 and above.
Damn.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure I get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons that are below. So that are straight up just below 500. So yeah, we're talking. So you can finish with what you're saying. I was just pulling up that stat for you.
Well, yeah, no. Like I say though, this is a game for Iowa that you have to beat the drums off of these guys. Just like, again, Trevor, if Iowa State's to be taken seriously, you got to beat the drums off of Kansas. I just don't know, because this is the first time in years that I've seen Kansas have actual life and actually play meaningful football after September. Was last season. So it's one of those things where maybe Kansas might be coming up a little bit. I'm not saying, they'll be competing for the Big 12 or anything, but they're no longer the doormat team that you can just, rule as an easy win every year. They're starting to get some more things going there. And Northwestern, they're going to be in such a legal fiasco this year that you'd be lucky if they win even 2 or 3 games this year, period, as well. So it's going to be one of those where for Iowa and Iowa State, this could be the week where they really make some noise in their respective conferences and their respective, bowls and stuff like that. This could be where, Iowa and Iowa State can make some serious noise. With that said, though, Iowa by 35, and then Iowa State by 10.
Here's an honest question. Is what's his name still coaching Kansas? Is Les Miles still coaching Kansas?
Un momento.
Wikipedia says Lance Leopold is head coach.
I think it is Leopold. I think he joined last year, if I remember right.
He joined 2021. He went 2-10, and the following year he went 6-7.
So yeah, let's put it this way. I think Leopold might actually have something going there. So, and like I say, I'm not, taking shots at Iowa State or anything like that. I just have seen enough sports. We've seen enough sports where, again, we've even seen Iowa State pull these victories off where, a higher ranked team like an Oklahoma or Texas doesn't pay attention and Iowa comes in and barnstorms. Even on the road, so you can't take any team lightly at all. You have to prepare for Kansas the same way you do for TCU, for Baylor, for Texas, for Oklahoma, for X, Y, and Z.
And then for this next team that we're going to preview here, and then for this next team we're going to preview here in a second.
So, and I'd say just go ahead and get started on Iowa State then.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to do. And it'll be their second newest opponent this season. They'll play the other two next season, and that is BYU. Not looking forward to this game. BYU is actually a really tough opponent. They barely lose any games. The one game that I remember me and Elijah predicting last year was that the game against Baylor, Elijah?
I don't remember.
I think it was against Baylor because that was when BYU was ranked and Baylor went in to Provo, Utah, and actually beat them. So
I don't even remember.
I don't remember either, but new stadium for Iowa State, Lavelle Edwards Stadium. It's actually has a really beautiful picture. If you guys can see this, that's a really nice picture.
Oh yeah,
that's a pretty cool view.
Beautiful landscapes and stuff like that. But
I know, I love that. You guys can see that, right? With me zooming in like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's gorgeous. I'm actually kind of jealous that we'll be there later in the year.
Then just go out there.
I won't physically be there, but Iowa State will. Like I said, I've said this the entire stream. Offense and defense have got to show up. BYU is not a team to screw around with. And with BYU beating SMU in their bowl game, it looks like 24-23. That was a really close game. I know nothing of BYU. I'm going to be 100% honest. So we're looking at.
I don't either.
I know a little bit. And I will say this before you continue on, Trev. BYU is a lot like a Utah, which they can surprise anyone at any time. And that's anyone. So just be mindful of that.
So we're telling me is don't trip. So like what the one flag I've seen
Well, case in
everywhere.
point, just look
around
at the
Iowa.
schedule from last year, even, or even from years past. I mean, they have had some historic upsets. I will say that. They've had some
Well, I
big
mean,
wins.
Boise State being one recent memory one, me being a Broncos fan myself. Yeah. I got nothing on this game.
I've
triple
watched it.
overtime win by Iowa State, and it's literally they are the last team to score. That's all I can say. I can't say anything.
I've watched a couple BYU games over the years, and Iowa State's in for a rude awakening. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh, it's going to be, like I say, I agree there. The 53-46, it's a 50-50 game.
Notice the tickets, though. $42. Damn. Sorry, random thought.
So next thing you know, we'll just see you up there like your Iowa State stuff, like at BYU, Iowa State.
Yep. I gotta know the problem is that plane tickets are not cheap.
Nope. And you're a little too far away to stay with Nick from Twisted Wrister Hockey, so...
Oh, just a wee bit. All right,
Yeah.
Elijah, you are up with the Rutgers game.
All right.
This will take
Iowa.
5 seconds.
Yeah, a little bit. Iowa will bring back the American striped tiger hawk for a Week 10 battle with the Scarlet Knights. These teams have only met 3 times in the history of Rutgers being in the Big Ten, with Iowa taking all 3 games, including a 27-10 win in Piscataway, in which Cooper DeJean had 2 interceptions and a 29-yard behind-the-back pick 6. That was awesome. Rutgers lost 30-0 in their only trip to the Hawkeye State in 2019. They had 2 QBs with significant playing time. Evan Simone with the probable starter, and Gavin Wimsatt. Both had less than stellar numbers last year. Don't be surprised if Rutgers is ranked at some point because their future is bright. They didn't have the best season last year, but they definitely are a team that could surprise some people.
I'm looking at Rutgers' schedule last year. They were very crappy. Let's just put it
Yep.
So was Iowa State.
Yeah, that's
Same record.
weird, right?
Same record.
Yeah, they did. I guarantee you put Rutgers. Oh no, last time Iowa State played Rutgers, Rutgers won.
How long ago was that, though?
How long ago was that?
I think that was one of the very few bowl games that Paul Rhodes led Iowa State to. That was when.
Oh yeah, that might have even been pre-Big Ten Rutgers. That might have been Big East Rutgers, because I know when Rutgers was in the Big East, they were pretty good, but then they moved to the Big Ten and just kind of. Bleh. So
yeah. I think the Kinnick crowd wills the Hawks to a 9-1 start.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, for me, Iowa's going to win this game hands down, just because, like you say, Rutgers isn't there yet. Rutgers still is. I feel like Rutgers is still trying to get their footing in the Big Ten because this is their 4th year, I think.
Something like that.
So I mean, they're relatively new themselves, and it's not like they play. And plus, they're like in the Big Ten East, which even if you're a good team, is a gauntlet to go through.
The Big Ten East is, like you said, a gauntlet. Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland, you can't rule out either. I mean, there's some good teams in the Big Ten East. So for me, I feel like this should be not a throwaway game, I guess, or like a kind of like that. But I feel like Iowa could very easily win by 3 scores.
Oh yeah,
17-21 type of game here. And then also Iowa State at BYU. Again, kind of like what Elijah said. BYU is not an easy game. BYU is never an easy team because, there's quite a few alum from the NFL that played at BYU, including that man that has that dog in him, Zach Wilson. Probably the more notable of this, the last few years and stuff like that. So BYU, granted, this is the first year in an actual conference full time, I think. So, because BYU, if I remember, it's like BYU, Notre Dame, and I want to say like Army. They were like conference list teams.
BYU, Army, Notre Dame, and then it's one other opponent. I cannot remember who it is, but there was 4 teams that are FBS independents. BYU no longer being an FBS independent makes it, I think, only 3 teams now.
I believe.
And then Army.
Elijah, can you fact check that for us?
Check what?
Independent FBS teams.
Oh yeah.
Because I know BYU was one of them.
And with them now joining a conference, it's now Notre Dame, Army, and then one other one. I can't remember who it was, but I was saying it and I can't remember now.
Give me one second.
Okay. But anyway, like I say, with this game, honestly, the matchup predictor, I'd agree with that. With that being said, though, I would give it depends on if Iowa State's in a good position at this time of year. Like, if they're still competitive and stuff like that, I think Iowa State will win. But if, like I say, if something happens, don't be surprised if BYU pulls out a victory by a score. But I give Iowa State a win by 3.
Okay, so Army, Notre Dame, UConn, and University of UMass.
But then again, UMass is not relevant. I thought UMass dropped down to the FCS level.
I think UConn just came from the FCS level not that long ago, too.
No, they didn't. They were just really bad.
Gotcha.
Oh. Okay. Anyway, let's do the penultimate game of the season for Iowa State, and that is horns down. Texas Longhorns. I will. Okay, hold on. Let me, before anyone says anything, that was targeting. Anyway,
shut your mouth. We'll talk about
it. This game, Iowa State has so much bad blood from last year. If you guys don't know what happened, go watch the last play that Iowa State had the ball in the Texas game last year. The dude literally lunged at Deckers, hit him square in the helmet, and the refs did not call targeting. I'm just throwing it out there, but you don't hit someone in the head while you're lunging and not get called targeting. That was just absolute crap. I counted.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Yeah, you look that up really quick because I swear to God, because you can even see there's a red mark on the Texas helmet from where he hit it. So it might not give the correct angle, but like if you like put the two together, you can see like, dude, there's no reason he needs to lunge because Deckers already had given himself up. He was sliding down to call the play dead, and he got nailed.
I am going. My screen's gonna freeze really quick. Going.
It's fine. Take your time. You can even probably mute yourself and turn your camera off if you need to.
No,
but,
it's fine.
But if you're gonna watch it and the sound's gonna show, I would suggest muting yourself so that way copyright infringement, because it is copyrighted by ESPN itself. But Iowa State's got so much bad blood from last game because they got screwed on their last drive, which they probably would have won the game that game. And then it also doesn't help that Xavier Hutchinson dropped a guaranteed touchdown that game. So
I think I remember that actually.
There's a little not really a big fan of Xavier on that play, but he's still a good player.
Whoops.
This is a game that Iowa State has got to keep their heads cool, because if they let Texas get under their skin, Iowa State's going to lose this game outright. With this game being in Ames and being in mid-November, we're going to talk about a cold environment that Texas is not really used to playing in, because they barely go north. Well, if they play West Virginia as well, but they play more in more warm weather than cold weather. So I would say the cold of Iowa State will affect Texas's play in this game, and I'm gonna give this one a slight edge to the Cyclones. I say it's a 4-point ball game at the end of the game.
He didn't hit him in the helmet.
Oh, dude, yes, he did. Why are you showing that, dude? That's copyright.
Who cares? It's like 2 seconds. It's from YouTube anyway.
But yes, he 100% does, because if you look at continue the broadcast, they show his helmet and he has a red mark on his helmet. If you continue watching it, it shows a red mark on his helmet, which you don't usually get that by hitting him in the jersey, because that just doesn't make sense.
Well, you know, grass change and stuff, but.
But yeah, and then let's get up the Iowa game for you, Elijah.
Okay. So
this is senior day for
correct.
Yeah.
Iowa, and I think Iowa State. Oh yeah, so the Texas game is Iowa State's senior day as well. So
okay, so Brett Bielema led the Illini to their best season since 2018 after years of mediocrity. Below 500 seasons, not winning the important games, including a 9-6 win over the Hawkeyes.
Oh God, that game was like pulling teeth. Whew. Anyway,
that I will say that called back scoop and score that probably cost Iowa the Big Ten West title. Now that we're looking at it, I mean, hindsight's 2020.
yeah.
But that call probably cost Iowa the Big Ten West.
That, and also Iowa not really scoring any points until like the month of November. But anyway.
The improved Iowa offense gets revenge on senior day, and the Hawks improved to 10-1.
All right. Where do I want to start? Well, I'll just go ahead and start with Iowa and Illinois. Iowa, after what happened last year in Illinois, you have got to win this.
Oh, yeah.
Senior day, you know, especially with the performance that you had in, what is it? Champaign, I believe is where Illinois is.
Yep, Champaign.
So just that absolute ugh. I mean, that game was, I'd rather go to the dentist and watch paint dry than that game last year. That was ugly on all fronts. But yeah, so senior day, you know, potential maybe Big Ten berth, kind of depending on, you know, it basically just kind of depending, because the Big Ten West could be a very competitive division this year.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, I think this is the last year of East versus West, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Next year they're getting rid of the division.
And they're going like a 3-4-3 or something like that, where anyway, we talk about that like when that comes, because they're doing like a different formula with all that next year. But yeah, so Iowa, if you want to have a chance at making the Big Ten championship game, you have got to beat Illinois, because this game, I mean, I don't know how many, you know, players are coming back for Illinois. In my opinion, the Big Ten West comes down to 3 to 4 teams: Iowa, Wisconsin, maybe Nebraska, and maybe Illinois.
Not Nebraska, not this season. Eventually, but not this season.
So, but still, though, I mean, there's still like 2 or 3 teams that I could see, Iowa included, like competing for the Big Ten West.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what the records will be competing for the Big Ten West, to see if we get like national, numbers and like national attention or for even like close to the playoffs or anything. But yeah, so Iowa, you should win this, and I have you winning this by like 14. For senior day, a good send off and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I'll say 2 scores.
Texas. Iowa State versus Texas. God, I would love nothing more than to beat the shit out of Texas here, but trust me, I would love to see that too, especially with them going into the SEC next year and all that stuff. Nothing would be a better taste in my mouth. Pause. But nothing would be more nothing would be better than to beat Texas on their like penultimate game in the Big 12. Like, I would love to see that happen. I just don't know because, again, that ESPN always predicts Texas to go like 14-0 or 13-0 and 12-0 or whatever. They did give Alabama a hell of a run last year. I will say that. And plus, I think they actually travel to Alabama this year as well. So we'll see what they're made of and stuff like that. And
really quick.
Yeah. But with that said, though, Iowa State for senior day, baby. Nothing would make me happier than to see you walk off the season with a win against Texas. So for that, I want to say Iowa State wins here. I'm going to fuck it. Iowa State wins by 3. Screw it. I don't care. Both teams win on senior night against, teams, and Iowa State has their signature win.
Okay, I am going to go. Now, this will take 5 seconds. Okay. Nebraska.
Simple.
Anyway, Matt Rule.
Sir, more than 5 seconds, sir.
Matt Rule, historically, has not been great at first years at new colleges. 2-10 at Temple, 1-11 at Baylor. Now at Nebraska. I don't see Nebraska as being a competitive team. I don't.
Yeah.
They've lost some key pieces, and I don't see that. So simply put, Hawkeyes win at Lincoln. Get back the trophy name. Heroes Trophy. Thank you. Heroes Trophy. And improve to 11-1 and clinch the Big Ten championship. Big Ten West championship.
They really do need that after the somehow losing triangle that happened that involved
Shut your mouth.
One other team. Hey, it's got to be mentioned. It has to.
That was it.
But anyway, to the final game of Iowa State's season. Do we even call this a rivalry anymore? Because
yes,
I said the final game of the regular season. I didn't say the full season. But
it will be. It will be the final game of the season.
Rivalry, because it's got a funky name, Farmageddon. But then again, recently this rivalry hasn't been a rivalry. It's been more Iowa State sided, especially in the past couple of years.
I am going to fact check here real quick.
I know that 2021 Iowa State won. 2020 Iowa State won. 2022 Iowa State lost.
10-9. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's bad.
We lost because we fumbled the ball twice on the 1 yard line.
Kansas State went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game winning streak from 2016 all the way back to 2008.
So that's when. So 2016 was
Sorry, 9 game, and they won 2017 as well.
So yeah, Acknowledge. What the hell?
But Iowa State's won three out of the last four, including a 45-0 2020 win against Kansas State. So yeah, I would call it a rivalry. It's not like Iowa where
Oh shoot! Someone. Oh my god. So we got a couple people here going back to the Texas game. Voltec here says Texas better win. You guys won't. And then I got my buddy Ryan here saying Warlocks are typically terrible, which that's a Destiny 2 reference. I have my freaking comments put away because it moves my stuff over. So sorry about that, guys. But I know you see my shit. Actually, no, I did not see your stuff. So Chris, I am sorry. But I don't understand how they can classify. It's not really more of a heated rivalry, unlike
what's going on here? Comments.
Yes, we will. No, you won't. No, you won't. It was targeting. You both know. Y'all know it.
He didn't hit him in the helmet, therefore it was not targeting.
100% did. He 100% did.
Why?
I don't understand how you don't see that he clearly.
Why? No, shoulder pad right here. Shoulder pad.
No, he hit him in the head. He 100% hit him in the head. Just because he made shoulder contact does not mean he hits him in the head.
Can I show a picture? Would that be copyright? Can I show a picture?
Possibly it will be, but let me pull it up real quick. But to finish this one off, I don't see Iowa State's got to be Kansas State because Kansas State, yes, they're they're reigning defending Big 12 champions. It's so weird considering that
defending.
Yeah, I know, reigning defending. It's so weird to see Kansas State as a champion in the Big 12. But
it's been a while.
Yeah, I know. Iowa State's got to go down. What stadium is this? Bill Snyder? Yeah, Bill Snyder Family Stadium. They got to go down to Bill Snyder and take down these Wildcats. They've done it before. I know they can do it again. And that offense just got to start clicking. But Ryan, shut up, dude. We're literally previewing both sides. You guys are both literally in the same freaking room. Why don't you just use one freaking thing to talk on? Like, come on. But Jake, what is your? We'll start with the final game for the regular season for Iowa State.
I mean, again,
shoulder pad.
I can't even see that. Hold on. I can't even see him hitting him.
That's not good. Right here.
Yeah, but his shoulder is hitting him in the head. It doesn't matter if it's crown of the helmet or not. If you hit him in the head, that is targeting.
It's helmet to helmet is targeting.
No, they changed that. The ruling is now if it's any contact to the head, it is classified as targeting.
I'm going to fact check you.
Go look at the one from Baylor earlier in that year.
Targeting rules in college football.
But anyway,
targeting is a rule in college football that prohibits players from making forcible contact with the crown of the helmet or to the head or neck area.
Thank you. Or to the head or neck area. It doesn't matter if it's the crown. It is also the shoulder.
And also, too, I think what it is as well is if there's a spearing motion, like you're not even trying to get out of the way or lay a bit. You're literally trying to take someone's head off. Doesn't matter if it's head or shoulder or whatever. Because it used to be just helmet to helmet but then they realized that it was just as dangerous because some of those guys have some arms and some, muscles that can do just as much damage. So they're trying to basically outlaw any sort of head hitting at this point.
And if you rewatch that play closely, the dude is literally vertical going at a player who's giving up in the play. Who is literally sliding down to call the play dead, and that's when he got hit. It was the same thing with Iowa State's appearance in the Big 12 title game against Oklahoma, which our best safety got called for targeting. The guy slid down, he lunged forward, hit him square in the head with his shoulder.
And also, too, I'll just say this. Targeting is like pass interference is like other penalties like that. It's so damn hard to actually call it and predict it, and because it's like it's so subjective. It's such a gray area because what constitutes as is it just a hit to the head? Is it a forceful hit? And what body parts count? Like if you hit the guy in the head with your trunk, does that count as a forceful hit? Or like if you kick the guy in the face, does that count as target? It's just like other
And
stuff.
and I also think it's like the fan base too, because some people on the Iowa State side will say that's targeting, and people from Texas will say that's not targeting. It depends on who you talk to.
That too, and also it depends too on. Because I guarantee you, Elijah, you'd be saying the same thing if something happened to McNamara like that, too, and stuff like that, Like, it doesn't really matter. Everyone has a different view on that. Mm-hmm. Other than the whole... Well, I'm just going to stop right there. But anyway, going to Iowa State versus Kansas State here. Again, it depends on how Iowa State is at this point. But if they can beat Kansas State and even, if I had to guess, I'd say right now, because how many weeks is this? 12 weeks?
This is week 12. So this will be right before the break, before either bowl eligibility or their off season.
So at this point, if I had to guess right now, I'd have Iowa State at a hopeful 7-4.
I can agree with that.
And
no, it'd be 7. It'd be 8-4 or 7-5.
Yeah. So I have Iowa State. Yeah, like I say. I will say, though, Iowa State, I don't know, because it's so hard to predict this late in the season right now.
True, because we don't know who's going to be starting quarterback or who's going to be starting running back at this time of the year.
And hell,
why would it not be Deckers? Barring injury, why would it not be Deckers?
That's the only thing that I can think of is injury.
Yeah. Or if the season goes to hell in the handbasket or something happens,
That's how Brock Purdy became the legend he is, because Iowa State started 0-3.
Purdy took over, and then we had our magical. What was it? 1-2 loss that next season?
I think it was 2 total.
Yeah. It just sucks that we didn't get a 4th season with Purdy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you see Iowa State over Kansas State?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And then Nebraska.
Well, I mean, while Nebraska might not be contenders, they did beat us last year at Kinnick. As much as I hate to say that, they did beat us last year in Kinnick.
I know.
So it's another team you can't take lightly at all. And this is another pretty decent rivalry of a game. Even though Nebraska's only been in the Big Ten for 5 or 6 years, it's still a really big rivalry game.
Yeah.
So with that being said, though, at Lincoln, again, first season, Iowa, especially if you have any aspirations at the Big Ten championship game, or maybe even more, you have to win this game.
Oh yeah, because if Nebraska isn't challenging, like they're not having a good season, and Iowa goes on to make the Big Ten title game and win it, they might not make the playoffs because they lost to Nebraska.
Yeah, exactly. Or they lose to insert team here. But again, like I say, at this point, Iowa wins and Iowa State wins their last 2 weeks. But again, talk to me in September, I could have a completely different outlook. Or talk to me when this game actually is played, I could have a completely different outlook. So it's always difficult to say, but if I'm a betting man, I predict both Iowa and Iowa State and make a bowl. It just depends on if Iowa's going to make a New Year's Six or if Iowa State's going to make a New Year's Six. Or for me, just to kind of wrap this up here, Iowa State will be bowl eligible. At what number, I don't know. Kind of leaning 7-5, 8-4, if I had to guess. And for Iowa, I'd say right now, if you had to put a, if I had to put a wager down right this moment, I'd say 10-2.
So I'll throw this out here really quick before we get final thoughts here. Elijah, remember that magazine I took a picture of that I sent you?
Yeah, you finally found it, huh?
No, I didn't find it. But I didn't send this to you, Jake. That magazine actually has Wisconsin winning the Big Ten West.
Nope.
And it's literally
I don't see it. Not with, especially, we don't know who their quarterback is going to be.
Yeah.
And you can see,
yeah.
And you can see, teams get hindered by quarterback play.
Well, case in point, Elijah, we don't know about McNamara. I'm not saying he's going to be bad or anything like that. I'm just saying we haven't seen him play in Iowa yet. And
Right.
I wasn't expecting Petrus to miss freaking screen passes.
Yeah.
Like, sweet Jesus. There's like a couple games in there where like Iowa was playing where Spencer Petrus was literally missing freaking screen passes to the running back right in front of him.
After the Iowa State game, we listened to the radio on the way back, and it was a talk show. It was the post-game show, and it was the interview. And I'm still working on my footwork. Dude, you're a senior.
Yeah. You cannot miss wide open screen passes. I don't care who you are. And Trevor, you could probably say the same thing if Decker starts doing that too. It's like, those are like your bread and butter passes. You cannot miss those as bad as you did. I mean, they weren't even close.
I
They
will
looked
say
like he
the
was
thing
more
about
throwing them
Deckers,
away.
though, the one thing about Deckers that I don't like is the fact that his playbook that he presented, because I think players have their own playbook that they want to run and the coach picks the plays out of them, is the ones that he wants to run a lot when it's not really necessity. The ones that I think he needs to run on the most is when he's under pressure and there's no one open and you just need to get a couple yards down the field. I'd rather, so like let's say it's like 2nd and 9 and there's no one open. I'd rather see 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 rather than 3rd and 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, I agree there too. Because that was one thing I noticed too with Deckers and like just the offense in general. Like the amount of dropped passes I saw with Iowa State last year was just absolutely insane. There's like 3 games that Iowa State very easily could have won. But
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma
State comes to mind where I think a game's Iowa State could have won.
I see 4 or 5, and you guys can get. And I'll give your opinions on all of them, but I'll give the 4 that immediately come to mind: Texas Tech, Kansas.
Yeah.
I can agree with the Oklahoma State one, and then Texas. Xavier Hutchinson. Hear me out on the Texas one. If Xavier Hutchinson catches that deep ball from Deckers, he's backpedaling into the end zone for a touchdown.
That's like Iowa and the Iowa State game. Iowa should have won that game. They had a free touchdown and Andy slipped on the 2-yard line and then we fumbled.
And Petrus couldn't hit more than like a 2-yard out route in front of him.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like Iowa State ran away with that game either.
That's why that kick was missed, because of the rain. It was 30 yards to the left because of the rain.
I would have loved. Can I be honest? I would have loved to see overtime in that game, just to see how good both of those defenses are. Because this year's Iowa and Iowa State game is going to be defensive heavy. Yes, it's in Ames.
Debatable.
Where it's in Ames where the scoring usually happens more in Ames than Kinnick. And Elijah, you can agree with me on
63-0 in Kinnick.
Well, that was before freaking what was his name? What's his name? That was before Campbell was even around. Campbell just beat Iowa for the first time last year, but every time that they've played them, it's always usually been close, right?
It feels like the Cyhawk game over the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years has been arguably the closest it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will admit that.
And that's the best part.
I mean, 2017 overtime. 2018, what was that?
Let me look it up really quick for you.
14 to 10.
I know that you said 2018 was 14. No, 2018 was, I believe, the 13-3 game.
Give me 1 second.
Literally the fucking snooze fest game. Pardon my French.
Okay. Let's see here.
I got it.
From a 2017 onward, 2017 was 44 to 41. 2018 was 13 to 3. 2019 was 18 to 17. Didn't play in 2020, obviously. Yeah, 21 was 27 to 17, and 22 was 10 to 7. So yeah, they've been pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking
and like I said,
more than 10 points.
And the only reason Iowa won 19 was because it number 3, number 2, something like that, ran into his receiver on the far
yeah.
That's the only reason why Iowa won that game.
So what you're telling me is, if our guy did not run into our punt returner, Iowa State probably wins that game.
Yes, because they have adequate time to run the ball down the field. They have 2 minutes. They'll need to get like 30 yards.
And Purdy was that was Purdy's MVP season too.
That was Purdy's game to win, and he didn't even get a chance to win it.
No, he didn't. Honestly, I think, yes, you don't feel bad, but like deep down inside, because now we can actually root for Brock Purdy as a neutral team. You gotta feel bad for the dude.
Let's go, Kittle. Kittle to Purdy is.
You mean Purdy to Kittle?
George Kittle's playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Actually, I would really love to see that. George Kittle throw a pass to Brock Purdy.
Sam LaFleur to play quarterback for like a play or two in the bowl game. That was pretty cool.
That would be cool. But yeah. So I think we'll give our full on opinions on the Iowa and Iowa State game when we do our predictions, because me and Elijah, you guys know us, we're passionate about these guys. My helmet is blurry as hell. And then the guys that are on his hat and behind him. Jake, I might, if you want to join, if we might be able to make some room, but if you want to, we can do some predictions with you sometime this year.
Oh, I'd love to. Like I say, as a fan of both Iowa and Iowa State, as a guy who's watched both Iowa and Iowa State whenever they're on, ironically enough, it seems like over the last few seasons, Iowa and Iowa State have played at like the exact same time as each other.
2:30.
Sucks.
2:30 and 11 o'clock. That's
pretty much.
There was last season, Iowa State and Oklahoma State, and Iowa and Wisconsin. Iowa punted. Iowa State punted. Iowa got an interception. Iowa State got an interception, and then both teams scored a touchdown, like 5 seconds apart.
Literally at the exact same time. Freaking.
So yeah, I mean,
that'll never happen again.
No.
But yeah, I mean, also, yeah, it's just, again, it's going to be like real quick here and stuff like that. It'll be real interesting to see here because, like, I don't know, like, do you guys do like a team prediction? Like, who you like? Have you done that, or are you doing that, or is that?
I'll send you one video from last season that we did. That way, you can see what we did.
Usually later in the season, it's top 25.
Okay.
But like earlier in the season, it's like it was top 25 in the Iowa State games. But earlier in the season, we like sub out the games that we know aren't going to be competitive, like the.
Alrighty. Well, yeah,
like Alabama, like Big One. That's not.
No, but I do want to because basically what I'm going to say is like for Iowa State, what I need to see from them this year is an improvement on offense. Like just get everybody together. Deckers needs to take that next step. The receivers need to catch the ball and not run into each other.
Yeah.
Defense needs to step it up and keep going, because defense was actually pretty good, like very good. And special teams, why can't Iowa State ever find a kicker that's really worth a darn, it feels like? It's been a while since I felt good about Iowa State's kicking, and I could even argue Iowa's kicking over the last few years has been kind of...
I mean, Keith Duncan and Torrey Taylor,
Yeah, but like I was still lucky to see the Nate Kading days, and those days where like basically a field goal was automatic. Now it just feels like it's not as anymore, but regardless though, so for Iowa State, I need to see the offense step it up. Defense needs to stay the same in order, to keep pushing forward and to keep Campbell and the team and the campus and stuff like that going, and just keep them going in a positive direction here, because after Texas and Oklahoma leave, the Big 12 is open for anybody to really take over. So if Iowa State can at the very least keep competitive, and not make it just a one-horse race or whatever you want to say, and then also quickly flipping it over to Iowa, can McNamara actually play better quarterback than Spencer Petras? That
doesn't seem like a question that should be up in the air. But right now, I mean, a month and a half away from the season, it did.
Yeah. Well, no, because again, we saw Petras missing wide open screen passes.
Don't remind me.
Like, I was about ready to throw my phone through the TV watching some of those games. I'm like, good God, this is ugly. And how many times did we even target the receivers last year? It felt like maybe 10. Like, I couldn't even tell
Charlie Jones in 2021, he transferred. And you could see what he could do on a competent offense.
Yeah. So what I need to see is, Brian Ferentz or whoever the offensive coordinator is actually set up an offense. Like,
Brian Ferentz needs to go back to the press box.
Exactly. Like
2017, 44-41. That's 44 points. Ohio State, 55-24. I mean, you name it, we scored points.
Exactly. And then this past year, I think we only scored more than 21 points, like two times?
There was a point, and it was during the Rutgers game. There was a point where the Iowa defense had scored more touchdowns than the Iowa offense.
Yeah, exactly. Because the defense was on point. I mean, Riley Moss was doing the darn thing. At least from the games that I saw, I mean, there's a few the special teams and the defense is what carried Iowa to where they needed to be. And you would win ugly games, but it's like, I need to see more offense from Iowa. See more offense from Iowa State.
I mean, like the Iowa State game, there was 5 turnovers. We scored 1 touchdown.
Hang on a second.
And again, if I remember right, Iowa was close on like a few of those. Like they were marching in, and then they fumbled it away to Iowa State.
Petras actually completed a pass, and Reganey flipped on the 2-yard line. And then we couldn't punch it in for down, like fumbled the ball.
And yeah, I mean, like I say, those goal line stands and stuff like that are, again, for both teams, like I say, I think you can agree on this too. Iowa and Iowa State, if their offense can get going with, even like 3/4 of the defense they had last year, both teams can make some serious noise in either the Big 12 or the Big 10 West, respectively.
It'd be nice to see both Iowa State and Iowa actually play in a New Year's Six bowl in the same year. That would be really cool. Like I could see Iowa making the Rose Bowl because, well, that's the bowl that they that they'll be eligible for, and then I can see Iowa State going to the Fiesta Bowl because that's where the Big 12 goes.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, both teams have the ability to really make some magic this year because Deckers is in his, second or third year under helm now? So he's
second.
So second year. So he has, a better idea of the offense and stuff like that. How many returning players are there on the offense?
For Iowa State?
Yeah.
I have no clue. I know that Silas is gone, which I know that he transferred out, which really freaking sucks because I love Deion Silas. We might get Brock back. I think Gyro Brock's coming back for a year because I think this is his final year of eligibility anyway. Trying to think of who else is coming back. I know we have an entirely new wide receiver core, which is going to be really,
That's gonna be either really freaking good or really freaking bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys,
but here's the thing:
Iowa's offense last year was literally Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway,
it's
guys,
not just
we should get
1 second.
But
we should get wrapping up here.
Yeah, I will let him take his phone call really quick. But personally, I'll speak for Iowa, and if you want to speak for Iowa State, that's fine.
Hold on, I'll be back 1 sec. I gotta quick check something. It shouldn't take too long.
Okay. I'll speak for Iowa here, with me being the Iowa State, and let's not try and bash our team, please. Here, I would say for Iowa, y'all already have a good offense. You guys just need to execute that offense. I mean,
we don't have a good offense.
No, hear me out. Because you guys got some new players for your offense, right? Through the offseason?
Correct, Mundo. Here, I got you.
So
all right. So
just give me the names. I don't need to know where they came from.
McNamara, Eric All, wide receivers Seth Anderson and Caleb Brown. Offensive tackle Dijon like the mustard, Dijon Parker. Tight end Hayden Large, who won't play much. He'll be a third string tight end. And the defense got a couple.
So looking at your offense, you guys should have a better season than last year.
Yeah.
But one thing, me being the Cyclone, this is the Cyclone part of me talking when I say this. The one thing that worries me after that Iowa State game, because we never know what's going to happen in that game, is literally Brian Ferentz' offensive strategy.
Yeah.
I know you say don't leave Brian Ferentz out of it, but how can you not when it comes to the offensive coordinator, who's the literal man in charge of the offense? Yes, you have to have the quarterback that executes the plays, but you have the man that calls them. So if Brian Ferentz can pull his head out of his rear end, then you guys should have a much better year than last year, and you guys probably are competing for the Big Ten West.
Speaking for Iowa State, I don't know much about their offense or how that's going to work, but they should.
I don't know whose offensive coordinator we picked up, but we did get our new offensive coordinator after we fired John Madden. No, not
John Madden. Yeah.
Rest in peace.
What's the guy's name?
Manning. His last name is Manning. Tom Manning.
Tom. I think Tom. Yep. Okay, I need to get heading out here soon. So can we wrap it up?
Okay. I'm waiting for Jake to get back, but once Jake comes back, then we'll totally wrap this up. But your thought with the new hiree, do you think Iowa State has a much better year than last year?
They should. I mean, their defense is pretty good. Their offense should improve. I think they battle for bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
6-6, 7-5, 5-7.
I'd say we make a bowl game. I say we go back to a bowl game.
Yeah, I would agree there. I would say again, if you had to put as of right now, I say 7-5. As of this moment, but I could see 8-4 because, like I say, there's always 2 or 3 games that are always ifs, just kind of are washes, basically. You could flip a coin and anything can happen. So,
yeah. All right, so that's gonna. I'm gonna have to wrap this up because Elijah's got to get going, and I want to go eat something and probably go out and play something. I don't know, but yeah. Guys, thank you guys for tuning into the live stream, and I will catch y'all later. I don't know what I got coming up next. I know that I need to figure out my 4th of July Canada Day NHL tournament that I usually do every year because I don't have my PS4 version. But I'll eventually get that. I'll figure it out. But
alrighty, I
thank
gotta
you.
go get some supper going myself here. So
Mhm.
thanks for having me on, fellas. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's hard to find Iowa and Iowa State fans that do anything on YouTube. So
Yeah.
it always seems like it's Georgia, Bama, Notre Dame, like the big schools and stuff.
For big guys.
So.
All right. Well, take care, guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Later.